Season 7 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour began in Olathe, Kansas at the first Kansas City Open of the season, right here at Olathe Lanes East. And our very first winner of the season was Colby Lovegren. He needs 9 or a strike. 8 would be a tie. 7's a loser. Ball game! The same day Colby kicked off the season with a win in Division 1, over in Division 5, Grace Ryder of Pilot Grove, Missouri, ran the stepladder for a win. In October at Gladstone Bowl, Antonio Miranda showed Prodigy Land what he'd been doing the whole season before Prodigy arrived in Kansas City, winning another KCO. That same day in Gladstone, Prodigy fans met Anthony Douglas, PJ's younger brother, and it was Anthony who beat PJ to the winner's circle. In November, we made the trip to Lawrence, Kansas, where Davis Best finally broke through for a KCO win after knocking on the door on previous episodes of the show. While Prodigy Land also met a young lady named Fiona West. Not only did she win Division 2, but her qualifying scores were good enough that she would have led any division. In December, we saw the first of 2 adult youth doubles tournaments on the KCO calendar, as Luke Gramley and his aunt Nicole Orlando ran the stepladder to win in Division 4. While in Division 1, Rhett Ryman and Wes Edwards held off a strong challenge by their opponents thanks to a clutch performance in the 10th by Rhett to seal the title. Oh, he knew it was good as soon as it got past the tracers. Then in January, we returned to Lawrence and saw Kayla Hedges pull off an upset against the tournament leader who had shot an 800 series earlier in the day, as Kayla punched her ticket to today's Prodigy TOC with a Division 2 win. And over in Division 1, Rhett Ryman became the first 2-time winner of the season on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, winning in back-to-back months in Division 1. In February, I was unable to attend the KCO because I was in the hospital following a car accident. And while I really don't know what handicap division we would have covered, I know for sure we would have covered Division 1. And since Caden White won the Division 1 title that we would have carried on Prodigy had we been there, we've extended a special exemption to him, and he's in our Prodigy TOC field today. March was a doubleheader month, starting in Olathe, Kansas for the March Points Tournament. And Alec Rutschman of Topeka, Kansas, made the most of his opportunity as he won the Division 3 title from the 2 seed. Meanwhile, in Division 1, tournament leader PJ Douglas won a thrilling final match to capture his 1 title of the season in dramatic fashion, getting 3 strikes in the 10th to win by a single pin. Then, 2 weeks later at the March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament in Belton, Missouri, Dallas Hart and his adult partner Darren Hall upset their challengers to advance to the title match, where they cruised to the title. In Division 1, we saw Nolan Nash and his adult partner and ball driller Quentin Mamer attack the pins and defeat 2 tough opponents to allow Nolan to capture his first KCO title of the season. In April, the KCO traveled to Leavenworth, Kansas, and the bowling center with the Dinosaur out in the yard, where Nolan Nash continued his winning ways, becoming the second 2-time winner of the season and the second to win in back-to-back months. And in Division 4, it was Grace Coleman of the Bowling Coleman family who showed her siblings the path to the winner's circle when she held off a strong challenger to take the title. Then in May, we traveled all the way to St. Joseph, Missouri, where the Division 3 winner was Kelly Kritzler of the Kansas High School 6A State Championship girls team from Olathe East High. While on another pair of lanes in Division 1, Colby Lovegren became the 3rd player of the season to win twice on Prodigy, thereby making the race for PBAA Player of the Year very interesting. And then on June 4th, at the Kansas City Open's final event of the season, the KCO Invitational, 2 of the 3 2-time winners on the year made the stepladder finals, and one of them, Nolan Nash, rode his late season momentum to a 3rd title of the year. Meanwhile, a few pairs away, another member of the Olathe East Hawks girls high school bowling team that won the Kansas 6A state championship, Lauren Leonardi, showed why the Hawks went undefeated this season. Lauren did too, running the stepladder to capture the final invitation to today's big season-ending event, the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. With each champion winning on Prodigy this season, another signature went on the Coveted Trophy Pin. And today, one of these young athletes will write another chapter in the lore of the Coveted Trophy Pin when they claim it as their own.
Welcome everyone to the Prodigy Bowlers Tour and the major of the year, the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. Events like these in your junior career will shape and mold you into the competitor that you are going to become. Stay focused, pick your spares, and enjoy the ride. Now it's time to see who advances to the Final Showdown for a chance to win the Coveted Trophy Pin. Good luck, and thanks for watching. EJ Tackett signing out.
Celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. A season's worth of winning has brought us to this point. Episode 149, the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions, where today 16 champions will compete in 2 divisions, handicap and scratch, in hopes of reaching the final showdown where one winner will claim the coveted trophy pin. We've returned one last time this season to Olathe Lanes East in Olathe, Kansas, home of the Kansas Pepsi Tournament and home of the premier youth bowling program in the greater Kansas City area. A very different format today, unlike anything you've seen on Prodigy before, as we'll bring you a double header today, a stepladder in the Handicap Division and one in the Scratch Division. And then those 2 winners will face off in the Final Showdown for the coveted trophy pin. 17 competitors were invited to bowl in the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions today. One player had to bow out due to a family commitment, so Luke Gramling won't be in the handicap field today. That left us with 8 in the Scratch Division and 8 in the Handicap Division. All 16 champions bowled 3 games of qualifying, with the top 4 in each division securing guaranteed spots in their respective stepladder finals. But while the players who finished outside the top 4 in their division are currently on the outside looking in, the Prodigy TOC format affords them one last chance to sneak into the stepladder finals by running the gauntlet through our Prodigy exclusive wildcard round. A format familiar to longtime viewers, but something these kids here in the greater Kansas City area have never experienced. The wildcard round is a single ball elimination, where all the remaining contestants throw 1 ball in the first frame, with the player getting the low pinfall being eliminated. Then the remaining players move to frame 2 on the other lane, and the process repeats until we're down to the sole survivor who will claim the 5th spot in their division's stepladder finals. We'll start today with the Handicap Division, and before you meet the top 4 players who have already secured their stepladder seedings, let's get the wildcard round underway, and you'll meet each player as they come up to bowl. Now remember, unlike the stepladder matches they're hoping to reach, where they'll bowl with their handicap pins, the wild card round is scratch. But remember, you don't have to have the best score in the frame to stay in it. You just have to avoid having the low score. If 2 tie for low pinfall in a frame, they'll roll off until we eliminate 1 player. The order they bowl in the wild card round was determined by their standings in the qualifying round, with the lowest qualifier leading off. So here we go. Qualifying in 8th place is Kayla Hedges of Independence, Missouri. Kayla won the Division II title at the KCO January Points Tournament in Lawrence, Kansas. And the 4 players who are competing in this wild card round meet at the ball return and shake hands. Kayla Hedges will throw the first shot. They will all throw one ball on the left lane here in frame one. Oh my. Kayla runs by the head pin and just gets 7. Bowling second and qualifying in 7th place is Dallas Hart of Grandview, Missouri. Dallas and his adult partner Darren Hall won the Division 5 title at the KCO March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament in Belton, Missouri. And Dallas gets 9. Bowling third and qualifying in 6th place is Grace Ryder of Pilot Grove, Missouri. Grace won all 4 matches to climb the stepladder and win the Division 5 title way back at the KCO September Points Tournament here in Olathe, Kansas. And I think it's fair to say that Grace has gotten a whole lot better at bowling since Prodigy viewers saw her in Division 5 back in September, the very first KCO tournament of the 2022-23 season. She has since moved up to Division 4. And you see why. There's a strike. Bowling fourth and qualifying in 5th is Kelly Kritzler of Olathe, Kansas. Kelly won from the 2 seed to capture the Division 3 title at the KCO May Points Tournament in St. Joseph, Missouri. Kelly's been especially excited about bowling in the Prodigy TOC. She's had this date circled on her calendar ever since she won in St. Joseph back in May. That's 9 for Kelly, so she's safe. So in frame one, the player with the low pinfall is Kayla Hedges with 7, and she is the first to take an exit ramp from the wild card round here in the Handicap Division. So we go back to the top of the order, and Dallas Hart will lead off in frame 2 with just 4 players. This won't take long to winnow the field down to 1. Dallas crosses over and gets a strike. It's hard to imagine a strike not getting through to the next frame. Although I guess anything is possible. Now Grace Ryder. She looked really smooth on that first ball in the first frame. Another pocket hit. Gets 9. So for the moment, Grace Ryder is in the uncomfortable position of knowing she's on the bubble. And it's up to Kelly Kritzler to decide whether it's Grace Ryder who's moving on or Kelly Kritzler who's moving on. Kelly needs 9 to stay in it and force a roll-off with Grace. A strike, and she would end Grace's day. Oh, but that ball creeps just a little too high, and Kelly gets 8, and that's not enough. So it's Kelly Kritzler who is exiting the field now after just 2 frames of the wild card round, and we now move to the decisive 3rd and final frame of the wild card round. Either Dallas Hart or Grace Ryder is going to be in the stepladder in the 5th spot. Dallas Hart gets 9. So Grace needs 9 to force a roll-off. A strike would put her through to the stepladder finals. 8 or less, and it's Dallas Hart who will be moving on to the stepladder. This is it right here. Oh, she runs by the head pin and gets just 8, and Grace will not make it through. So Dallas Hart of Grandview, Missouri survives the nerve-wracking wild card round and advances to the stepladder finals as the 5 seed. That means he'll face the number 4 qualifier, Anthony Douglas of Olathe, Kansas. Anthony won the Division III title at the 2022 KCO October Points Tournament in Gladstone, Missouri. And he and his brother PJ, who's in the scratch field today, hope to make it a family affair in the Final Showdown for the Coveted Trophy Pin. The winner of that opening match will face the number 3 qualifier, Grace Coleman of the Bowling Coleman family of Excelsior Springs, Missouri. Grace fended off a strong challenge from her opponent when she won the Division IV title at the 2023 KCO April Points Tournament in Leavenworth, Kansas. The survivor of that match will bowl against our 2 seed, Lauren Leonardi of Overland Park, Kansas. Lauren just punched her ticket to the Prodigy Toc at the final KCO tournament of the season, the 2023 Kansas City Open Invitational in Division II, where she won all 4 matches of her stepladder to capture her only youth bowling tournament crown. And today, she has a chance to finish her youth bowling career with back-to-back titles. And the winner of that semifinal match will bowl for the Hunter Moffitt Award against our Handicap Division qualifying leader, Alec Rutschman of Topeka, Kansas. Alec won the Division III title at the 2023 KCO March Points Tournament here in Olathe. So he loves bowling in this center, and he stands just 1 win away from a chance to bowl for the coveted trophy pin. And those are our finalists in the Handicap Division at the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. Here's how the 5 finalists got here. In Game 1 of qualifying, Alec Rutschman fired a 257 scratch. With his 15 pins of handicap, that netted him a tasty little 272 to throw down the gauntlet early. Grace Coleman was close behind with a net 244 game. Kelly Kritzler had a strong opening to put her 3rd. Then, after the second game, the 2 girls from the Kansas High School 6A Girls State Championship team, Lauren Leonardi and Kelly Kritzler, flipped places on the leaderboard, with Lauren moving up and Kelly slipping down a spot. Grace Ryder moved up from 6th to 5th, while Anthony Douglas fell back from 5th to 6th. But then, following the decisive 3rd and final game of qualifying, Lauren Leonardi continued her steady climb up the leaderboard to 2nd, while Grace Coleman held on to grab her guaranteed spot in the stepladder at 3rd. And Anthony Douglas rallied in his 3rd game with a strong 234 scratch, which added to his 6 pins of handicap, gave him a nice 240 to finish on a high note, moving him up from 6th to 4th to round out the top 4. And as you see, Dallas Hart held steady throughout qualifying in 7th after each game, but he certainly made the most of his opportunity in the wild card round. Dallas has the lowest average of any of our finalists today, giving him a whopping 49 pins of handicap. But he survived the wild card round without the help of any handicap, as the wild card round is all scratch, and he beat some players with much higher averages than his. So look out for Dallas Hart once these stepladder matches get underway. And finally, Alec Rutschman, who led after the opening game of qualifying, just stayed in the lead throughout, and we'll wait to see who he will face in the final match of the stepladder finals in the Handicap Division. But first, it's time to get this match play underway, and we begin with our surprise 5 seed, Dallas Hart of Grandview, Missouri, facing Anthony Douglas of Olathe, Kansas. Now remember, just as they did in qualifying, these stepladder matches are handicap, but the handicap is different here at the Prodigy Toc than it was in the KCO events. All these handicap players came out of the KCO Divisions 2 through 5, where they were getting 90% of the difference between their average and the top of their division. But here at the Prodigy Toc, they're all getting 75% of the difference between their final KCO average and 200. After we complete the handicap stepladder finals, we'll turn our attention to the scratch division, and you'll meet the players there. But right now, it's time for Dallas Hart and Anthony Douglas to get this party started.
Anthony leads off with a powerful strike, and Dallas Hart is not waiting around. He is ready to go right now. Crosses over, misses the head pin on the left, leaves the 1-3-6. A spare we don't see all that often from right-handers. Pretty straightforward. If you want to make it, just put it in the pocket. That's where he would have liked to have put his first ball. But a spare, nonetheless. And as you can see, we have their handicaps right there visible on the score sheet. And after Dallas throws this ball, we'll add in the handicap to his score. Oh dear, that just gets 3. So a spare plus 3 would be 13. You add to that his 49 pins of handicap, and that's how we arrive at 62 in the first frame. That's how we roll when we're doing handicap. And he misses the head pin left once again, and that's 6 out, and that's going to hurt. So his lead is down to just 22 pins as Anthony Douglas now steps up in the second frame, working on a strike. He can cut the lead further. And that's exactly what he does. With a strike in the second, and now Dallas's lead is all the way down to 12. Take another look at Anthony Douglas's game. We were impressed by him in October when he won in Gladstone, and he has just gotten better and smoother, and dare I say, bigger. That's what these kids do at this age. They grow in spurts, and he has had a growth spurt this year. Oh, comes in light, and the 2 gets kicked out at the very last minute. So once again, you see 3 strikes to start would give him 30 in the first. Add 6 of handicap in, and there's 36 in the first. Oh my. Well, you want to keep that ball off the gray board. It doesn't hook. That's a gutter ball to start the frame. And a little high on the head pin for the second shot, so that's 8 out, and back-to-back opens for Dallas, and now his lead is completely gone. He is trailing by 10 as he moves over to the left lane, hoping for better fortunes. Gets a piece of the head pin on the Brooklyn side, leaves the 5. Shouldn't have any problem with this. It's a pretty easy spare. I'd say probably the easiest of all the spares. And there you go. So 2 spares and 2 opens to start for Dallas, while Anthony is perfect through 3 frames. Well, he's not perfect anymore. Right through the nose. And Anthony leaves himself a virtually impossible split, the 4-6-7. He has moved to the right side of the approach. That tells me he's going for the 2 on the left. And that's really just about all you can do with that. Just take the count, take your medicine, and go on. But now Anthony has handed the lead right back to Dallas. As he moves to the left lane, he will try to get a little string of strikes going. Oh, man. That's a fine how do you do. High flush in the pocket. He leaves a stone 7. How do you leave a stone 7? Watch this. Watch the 2 pin, the third one from the left. It's going to go to the left wall, turn around in front of the 7, And somehow it misses it as it goes back to the right. Anthony takes the scenic route to cover the 7-pin, but cover it he does. And Dallas Hart up again, maintaining a 5-pin advantage. Goes through the nose, breaks up the split, and is left with just the 4-7. This one decidedly easier than the 4-7-10 for sure. And he too likes to hook at those left side spares, and does it effectively. This young man won the March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament with Darren Hall, his partner. Oh boy. Well, that one gets away from him, and he gets 4, leaving the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And as you might expect, you shoot this like a strike. And he chops the 1 off the 3, and we actually had a pin fall down there. Let's take another look at it. When the pin setter set this spare back down, the 5-pin fell out. And Dallas was not waiting around to throw his second ball. Well, nobody noticed it, so we continue. And Anthony, going through the nose, leaves another tricky spare, the 3-6-10. Like all right side spares, I like to see him move to the extreme left side of the approach to shoot this, and it's especially important on spares like the baby split, the 3-10, or the 3-6 or 3-6-10, to move way left because you decrease the chance of a chop. But Anthony covers it beautifully. That's textbook. So he will take an 11-pin lead to the 7th frame, thanks to the open by Dallas in the 6th. Oh boy. Well, you saw him motion with his right hand, stay right, stay right. It didn't. Went through the nose. But watch this pin action. Something knocks out the 10-pin late. You'll see his gesture there. And something at the very last instant knocked the 10 out. And when that happens, you just say under your breath, thank you to the bowling gods above. Simple spare, the 4-pin. Not only does he like to hook at those left side spares, but he seems to take a little off the speed to make sure that it hooks. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yikes. Well, this is not the first time we've seen Dallas do this, and didn't have a good result the last time when he got 8 out. And you can see his body language. He's just feeling like he's a little overmatched here. When they bowl in the KCO, they only bowl against players in their own division. There's a spare for Dallas. And guess what? Since he wasn't working on a spare when he came up in the 7th, that's as good as 9 spare. We'll take another look at it here. Watch this. 5-step approach. Obviously, he's still learning. Like to see him stay down, get a little lower with a knee bend. But guess what? You can't argue with the results of that shot. Oh, man. You can argue with the results of that shot. That was just a little high. Looked like it was going to be the 4-7-9. The 4 gets tripped out, and he's left with a virtually impossible 7-9 split. Well, that's just not fair. And he throws it in the gutter, so that's 8 out. So another open extends Anthony's lead to 24 pins. Well, as I was mentioning earlier, in the KCO, these players only bowl against others in their own division, whereas Dallas is Division 5, Anthony is Division 3, so they would never face each other at the KCO. But here at the Prodigy TOC, where all of the different divisions are thrown into one division, and we call it the Handicap Division, you'll see some competition between players that don't usually face each other. And I think that's a good thing. It forces the lesser players, if you want to call them that, the ones with lower averages, to have to step up and be counted against these better players. And I say better players, I mean they have averages that the lower average players aspire to have someday, and many of them likely will. But the fastest way I know to get better at bowling is to bowl with better bowlers. So I like this. In fact, a doubles tournament with players from different divisions at the KCO, I think that would be a fun event. No luck breaking up the split this time. Anthony's got the 4-10. Here's how you make it. We saw Nolan Nash make this just a couple of weeks ago on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Here's what it looks like from the front. And here's what it looked like when Nolan Nash shot at it. Oh, what a shot! That was pretty exciting, all right. Anthony would love to duplicate the feat right here. But his ball doesn't quite hook enough to catch the left edge of the 4-pin, so that's an open frame, and now all of a sudden we've got a match. Dallas trailing by only 9. And he plants one right in the pocket and gets them all to go as he lets out a big yawn like, ho hum, I do this all the time. I know better than that. Watch it again. This will get out to about 8 or 9 at the break point, and bingo. And guess what? With that strike, all of a sudden Dallas is in control of this match. Oh boy, he gets another one. And now he's taken the lead in the match as we watch his footwork here. 5-step approach. Like to see him get a little lower at the foul line, a little more knee bend, but pretty close to his leg, and good trajectory, and man, they're all going to go down when you hit it there. This strike could set him up to shut out Anthony. You gotta be kidding me. That gives Dallas an 11-pin lead. And he's one strike away from shutting out Anthony Dokolas. That one a little wider at the break point, out to about 7 or so. But if he gets a strike here, Anthony will be done. How about that? How about that? Well, I think we'd have to term that an upset for sure. I'm sure Anthony is a little upset. He didn't bowl badly this match. That open in the 9th was really the thing that provided Dallas the opportunity. But boy, having the opportunity and taking advantage of the opportunity are two completely different things. Anthony with a spare, but the best he can do is 192 with a fill here of 10. Dallas Hart has won our opening match in a huge upset. He seemed an unlikely survivor of the wild card round, given all the players with higher averages around him. But now, not only did he survive the wild card round, but he wins the opening match of the stepladder finals. And it's Dallas Hart who's moving on to match 2. He'll face Grace Coleman of Excelsior Springs next. Talk about making the most of your opportunity. Dallas Hart comes out of the qualifying round in 7th place out of 8 contestants, and then walks through the pressure-packed wildcard round like it was nothing. And then he spends most of match 1 of the stepladder floundering, tossing a couple of balls into Never Never Land, only to step up in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th and close out the match with a 4-bagger, shutting out Anthony Douglas. Anthony never knew what hit him. That split in Anthony's 9th frame was just a killer. But Anthony Douglas has several more years in youth bowling, and next season, he and his brother PJ will get to bowl on the same high school team together. So I expect to see some of that PJ Douglas mojo rubbing off on the younger brother Anthony. And we're liable to see him back again many times on Prodigy. But now the first domino has fallen at the Prodigy TOC, and next up, Dallas Hart is moving on to match 2, where he'll face the winningest member of the Bowling Coleman family in 2022-23, Grace. When Grace Coleman won on Prodigy in April, in our post-tournament interview, she challenged her brother Gabriel and said he was the only Coleman sibling who hadn't yet appeared on Prodigy. And how does he respond? Well, he made the next 2 stepladders in May and at the KCO Invitational in June. Gabriel is here today in the gallery cheering on his sister along with their mom. And Dallas has his dad here leading the Dallas Hart rooting section. So there will be no shortage of interested spectators for this next match. And Grace Coleman was the higher qualifier between the 2 players. So she had the choice of starting lanes, and for reasons I'll never understand, she's starting the match on the right lane. All matches start on the left lane. Crosses over, leaves the 5. Just to amplify that point, all PBA and USBC matches, head-to-head matches, start on the left lane. If you want to start on the right lane, that means you go second, and the other player starts the match on the left lane. That's just the way it works. And we're doing it a little differently this match, and we'll get over it. Grace covers the 5-pin, no problem, as you would expect. And as you can see here, both players getting a substantial amount of handicap. So the handicap differential between the 2 is only 15 pins. That puts it well within the range of what you might see if 2 players were facing each other in the same division at the KCO, where there's a 20-pin spread in each of the handicap divisions down through Division 4. Division 5 is a little wider than that. Doesn't quite come up. Dallas tickles the head pin enough to get it down, but leaves a tricky spare here. The 2-8. You got to put the ball right on the face of the 2-pin, so it'll drive back through and get the 8. And instead, he catches the very right edge of the 2-pin and doesn't get the 8, so that's an open frame. So 9 in the first frame, added to his 49 pins of handicap. That gives him 58 in the first. There you go. You get them however you can get them in competition. A little tickler on the left side of the head pin, and watch all the action on the right side of the rack. I don't know how many pins ganged up on the 10, but it was a bunch. It's like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 pins collapse onto the 10, and 10 pin, you were going down one way or the other. Good shot by Grace. She is one of, I have lost count of all the siblings in her family that bowl in the KCO. I think we've seen them all now. This one over about 9 at the arrows, out to about 7 at the break point. And she plows them over. And another good one by Grace. Followed the exact same path. She threw it on the left lane, and that double gives her the lead in the match. Watch this again. She's a 4-step approach. Got a little extra step there at the end, but when the ball comes off her hand, she's in pretty good position. Dallas stuffs him straight back. Gives it the big loft to try to get it to hold line. Watch this. He will plant. Throws it over about 17 at the arrows, out to about 10, and it nearly goes too high. Down they go. He takes the lead right back. Well, he took the lead right back, and that short count makes it an even match. And now this is a pretty tricky spare. The 1-3, 6-10. Again, one we don't see right-handers leave all that often. You have to miss the head pin on the left to leave it. Oh, and that's not how we would recommend shooting it, but he gets them to go. And it's not how, it's how many. So this match is even, but Grace Coleman working on a double can take the lead here with another strike. Oh, she gets 9 and moves the 5 pin a couple of inches to the right on a possible wall shot, but the 5 stubbornly refusing to go. She made the 5 pin in the first frame. I would expect she would have no difficulty with it here. She takes her time. That's one thing I've noticed. Most of the bowling Colemans do. Gabriel also very deliberate. I don't remember Andrew being quite that deliberate. And Bailey, who was on the show back in December on the Adult Youth Show, I don't remember she being all that deliberate either. But at least a couple of them are. There you go. That's what she's looking for, that half pocket blower strike. Watch it again. Right foot first on a 4-step approach. And then she takes that little extra step with her right when she gets to the foul line. But that happens after the ball is gone. If she keep her shoulders back a little bit, she wouldn't have that step. And Dallas blows the rack on a half pocket hit to maintain his 1-pin lead. He is a scrappy little player. He'll just hang around and hide in the weeds, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's taking the dessert right off your lunch plate. The 1 and 5 pins do all the damage on the left side of the rack. Takes a while for them to all go down, but they all go down, and that's what matters. Now let's see if he can put another one behind it. Oh, the ball doesn't come up that time. And he leaves the 1-2-10, a form of the washout. Here's how you make it. Put the ball on the left side of the 1 pin, or the head pin as we call it. Throw it over into the 10. The ball will get the 2. To do that, move your feet about 5-6 boards to the right of your strike position. Throw it over your strike target. But instead, Dallas gets the right side of the head pin, and unless you get a great break off the left wall, that is rarely going to work. And so, the lead passes over to Grace Coleman, who now has 11 pins on Dallas. Ball doesn't quite finish. So the 6 just lays in the gutter and leaves the 10 on what we call the weak 10 hit. Grace will move to the far left side of the approach and go cross lane at the 10. Oh, look out. Well, she was using a spare ball. Spare balls will not hook. That's why they're spare balls. And she just gave it too much room to the right, and it went straight into the moat. So the lead moves back to Dallas. How many lead changes have we had this match? Well, she found the pocket with that hit. As a matter of fact, she struck on the right lane the last 3 times she's been up on the right lane. Watch it again. You see that extra little step with her right foot after the ball is gone. If I was going to coach her, I would tell her to keep her spine angle a little more upright, shoulders back, butt down. Keep that right foot behind her. Well, now there's a lead you don't see every day. The 1 pin. Do we call that the stone 1? Well, I don't know about that, but I think you could go a few months and not see the 1 pin left by itself. And you don't like to see it missed because that's pretty easy spare right there, but Dallas whiffs it and hands Grace a 10-pin lead. That one crosses over. It doesn't leave the most difficult spare in the world, the 5-9, but it is choppable. You got to be careful with this. It's like throwing at a strike, but I'd move my feet about a board, maybe 2 to the left. But that one doesn't get up, and Dallas with another open frame. And that's 4 open frames this match. And while you would expect that from a 49 handicap player, he can ill afford it against Grace Coleman, who now leads by 21. And she tries to get the wall shot to go. They were bouncing off of each other, but the 8-pin still remains. We definitely wouldn't call this a stone 8. This was a shaker 8. But you shoot it just the same as any old garden variety 8-pin. Oh no. What was that? It looked like it fell off her hand. That was left of target as soon as it hit the floor. Well, I think Ringo Starr once released a song called It Don't Come Easy. And nothing is coming easy for these two players this game. But somebody's going to have to win it. Much better shot. Got the light hit, blew the 5 over to the left side of the rack, and it nudged out the 4 and 7. And Dallas is up, ready to go. So once again, he misses the head pin to the right. This time, a slightly easier spare than that washout he had, but the 1, 2, 4, 8 is no joke. You got to be careful with this one too. put it right on the 1 and 2. Oh, man, he gets it on the right side. He must be living right. But we saw him do this in the last match. He just kind of hung around all game and then performed in the 10th. He needs to do that here. He trails by 9. Wow. This guy knows how to strike in the 10th, doesn't he? He could really use another one here. If he strikes on this ball, he'll take the lead. And assuming good count on the final ball, he'd force Grace Coleman to get the first strike. Well, that one just went through the nose. He leaves the 3-6. He's going to finish with 210 if he covers this spare. All right, it'll be 208. Either way, Grace is going to need a mark. A strike would wrap it up. A spare would do it as well. Oh, that was crowding the head pin, but she got away with it, tripped the 4. And that's a winner. Watch this. Looked to me like she pulled it a little left of her target. Definitely. A little high on the head pin, but the 2 pin goes to the left wall and trips out the 4, and she has won match 2. Crosses over with that one, but it's all over but the counting. Grace is going to be in the 220s. 228 with a conversion here. And a 20-pin victory over Dallas Hart. Well, okay, a 19-pin victory over Dallas Hart. In any case, it's a victory. And Grace Coleman has won match 2, receives congratulations from her vanquished opponent. And now we move to match 3 and get one step closer. Grace Coleman against Lauren Leonardi when we return. Hey, Prodigy Land, it's me, Coach Randy. I just wanted to invite you to watch another podcast that I was on recently, right here on YouTube. It's called Bowling with the Pfeff, and it's hosted by a former TV news anchor, Andrew Pfeffer, up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. He loves bowling like you and I do, and I think you'll really enjoy his interviews, especially the ones he did with Randy Peterson and Norm Duke, and the one he did with me. The one that I'm on is titled The Eyes Have It, and the thumbnail is pretty easy to spot because it has a picture of my ugly mug. So go check it out on youtube.com/@bowlingwiththepfeff and tell your friends about it. He should have more subscribers than he does, and Prodigy Nation, you're just the people to help him get there. It's youtube.com/@bowlingwiththepfeff. Look for the episode with me on it. There's some really amazing moments on the show. All right, let's get back to the KCO Invitational. Well, I talked briefly with Dallas Hart right after his match against Grace Coleman, and I asked him, "You didn't really think you were going to get this far, did you?" And he admitted that he didn't. Then I asked him, "So what did you learn today?" And before he could answer, his dad chimed in with, "To listen to your dad," which most junior bowlers I've known never do. They'll listen to coaches, sometimes, but the parents are always the last ones they want to listen to. But I hope the lesson Dallas learned today is to keep your eyes on what's ahead of you and to never give up. Because in bowling, or in most any competitive endeavor for that matter, you really never know what's going to happen. You get to write the story.
I'd say Dallas Hart got about the most out of his game today that he could possibly hope for, and he should be proud of his fourth-place finish. But now, Grace Coleman is moving on to face the hottest handicap bowler we've seen on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in the past few weeks. Lauren Leonardi won all 4 matches in the Division II stepladder at the KCO Invitational in early June of this year for her first tournament win ever. Since she's not going to Junior Gold, this will be her final youth bowling tournament of her career, so she has a chance to go out with back-to-back victories. We'll see which of these 2 girls has the maple moxie to get through to the championship match.
Maple moxie, I guess I'm dating myself a little bit with that term. Goes back to the days when lanes were all made of wood, maple and pine. In the pocket, but it doesn't quite kick out 10. And so Lauren will get to do what Lauren does best, shoot at a spare. Now you see there's a 25-pin handicap differential between these 2 girls. Lauren is spotting Grace 25 pins. And as we have seen her do time and time again, Lauren covers a spare. And now Grace Coleman up on the right lane. And she plants one right in the pocket. Solid hit. Watch it again. It's a 4, let's call it a 4.5 step delivery. She's got that extra step at the end. Just catches her balance. But boy, she couldn't have thrown it any better. Grace is 15 years old. Lauren is 18. Well, that hit looked a lot like the one Lauren had on the left lane. In that half pocket, the ball just didn't quite make the corner enough to kick out the 10. She had difficulty with right side spares in her first match. And she does it again, throws it in the right gutter. So I don't know if that's something that has plagued her for a long time, or if it's just something that has popped up today, but she's going to need to tighten that up if she wants to beat one of the best spare shooters in the Kansas City area. Lauren gets the 10 to go this time. So both players finding the right lane to their liking. Both players leaving 10 pin on the left. Here's Lauren Leonardi's style. She's a planter, playing a down and in shot, straight up 10. She'd love a few more of those. She gets the light shaker to go. Watch this one again. The head pin is going to do all the damage. It'll go to the left wall and come back off the wall and take out the 4, 5, and 7. And another strike on the right lane. Everybody's perfect on lane 14 so far. Once again, just up about 8 or 9. Grace playing a little farther outside than Lauren. She generates a little more ball speed than Lauren also. No dear. That one goes right through the nose. And now she's left with a very difficult split. Although, I must say, this is not as difficult as the Greek church, which would have the 10 pin up as well. Here's how you make the 4-6-7-9. Shoot it like the 4-9. That 4 pin can bounce off the 9 and carry him forward into the 6. She's going the other way at it. I don't recommend this. And that's 8 out. So an open frame gives Lauren an 11-pin lead. And now she'll go to work on the right lane, working on a double. Once again, perfect on the right lane. Lauren Leonardi wrote on her profile sheet back in October when we had her on the show that her high series was 668. Well, guess what? She beat that in the first 3 matches at the KCO Invitational in the stepladder earlier this month when she shot games of 229, 215, 226, scratch for a 670. That's now her best series. And she finds the way on the left lane once again, and that's a 4-bagger. Here's Lauren's footwork, very deliberate. 5-step approach. There's her plant. Look how close the ball is to her ankle. That's what we like to see. We'd like to see her get a little more behind the ball at release, but when you hit them there, they're usually going to go down. Oh my. Back-to-back shots through the nose for Grace. And now she's got a virtually unmakeable split, the 4-6-7. Most players will just go for the 2 on the left, take the count, and kind of take your medicine and go on. That's about all you can do with it. But back-to-back opens not helping her cause as Lauren has opened up a 42-pin lead through just 5 frames. Grace lists Darren Tang as her favorite pro bowler. Oh dear. That one looked like it slipped off her hand. And now she's got the washout, the 1, 2, 4, 10. It can be made. Put the ball on the left side of the head pin. The ball will get the 2 and the 4. You want that head pin to go over and do its job and get the 10. But she gets too much of the head pin. And that's now 3 open frames in a row. 4 open frames out of 6. And that is no recipe for success, I'm afraid. Grace is a better bowler than what she's showing this game. Ooh. Lauren gets a break. Of course, with a 51-pin lead, she had some pins to burn, but you never like giving them away. 7 goes out. She leaves just the 6-10. I would expect her to cover this, no problem. And there you go. When she was on Prodigy Bowlers Tour earlier in June at the KCO Invitational, she won all 4 matches and had 39 clean frames out of 40. She won't give a match away. She rips the rack. Lauren doesn't throw the high-powered, high-rev ball, but she gets enough on it. to send everything over to the 7, and that is a power strike, and the lead is 51. Grace drifts just a little high and leaves the 4-7. A decidedly easier spare to convert than the ones she has faced in these last 3 frames. She'd like to make this and stop the bleeding. There you go. Grace has a possible 216 if she strikes out. Lauren is going at a 237 pace. So Grace is going to have to do something special here and hope that Lauren hits a bump in the road or two. I don't know what happened there. Again, it just looked like it slipped off her hand. It was left immediately as soon as it hit the floor. The 1-3-8-10. This is not an easy spare by any stretch. The way I recommend shooting it is from the left side of the lane. Go at the left side of the head pin. Get the ball to take out the 1 and the 8. Let the 1 take out the 3. The 3 take out the 10. She's going at the pocket. And that's why I don't recommend shooting it that way. So another open for Grace, and I think she knows this one's slipping away. Lauren Leonardi with 5 strikes in 7 frames. Oh, this time she doesn't get a break. And the 4-7-9 remain. And so she will have to navigate this little split. Well, let's see how she does with splits. We know she's a good spare shooter. How is she at splits? Well, she went all out at it, and why not? But it's a rare open frame for Lauren Leonardi. And Grace Coleman has got to be thinking, I could have used a couple of those earlier in the match. But as it is now, Lauren needs 8 pins, and she will shut out Grace Coleman. And there's all 10, and that is a winner. Watch it again. This is going to hit light in the pocket. The head pin's going to go to the left wall, come back, take out the 4, 5, 7, and 8. Watch this. And then it just kicks out the 7 at the last minute. Thank you very much. Well, that one doesn't quite get up. Grace leaves a pretty simple spare, the 2-4. I don't think she'll have any problem with this one. Well, I say that, and all of a sudden here in the last few frames, she's kind of let it slip off her hand a few times, and it goes left of target as soon as it hits the floor. So I don't know if that's a grip issue or if she's got some pain in her right hand. I don't know, but we know she's capable of better. There you go. That's more like what she's looking for. Let's take another look at her footwork here. 4-step approach. Starts with her right foot. Ball could be a little closer to her ankle, but not too bad. And you see that step forward with the right foot after the slide step. And I think if she just kept her shoulders back a little bit, her spine angle more upright instead of so far forward, She'd keep her bottom down and that right foot, keep it on the floor behind her. Good shot. This is what she did in the 10th frame of her match in April when she was the tournament leader and went on to win. She struck out in the 10th after having some fairly marginal shots during the match. But then she came through with 3 of those, shutting out Anna Keeler. Once more. Okay, 29 in the 10th. That's a good finish. It'll take some of the sting out of this, but not the match she wanted to bowl for sure. It's Lauren Leonardi who's going to move on to the championship match in the Handicap Division. And a stone 7. Well, this was downright insulting there, but with the match already socked away, I guess it doesn't matter. I love that even in the 10th frame with the match banked, there's no give up. Just keep trying on every ball. You want to stay in stroke for the next match. That's smart. A little high on the final hit. Gets 8. That is a 221-167 victory for Lauren Leonardi. She'll bowl Alec Rutschman for the Hunter Moffitt Award and a chance to bowl for the coveted trophy pin. Well, as coaches, we talk all the time about the importance of spares in tournament bowling, and 6 open frames is no way to get to the winner's circle. Grace Coleman knows that. She just didn't have her best stuff that match. And while I know she's disappointed to go out that way, this young lady has a promising future in bowling and a bowling family around her who's as supportive a group of people as any youth bowler could ever hope to have. So I know we'll see Grace Coleman again in the future. But meanwhile, Lauren Leonardi just looks unstoppable. She won 4 matches on our last episode of Prodigy, running the stepladder to the title. And now she's just 1 match away from going back-to-back. She'll be bowling for this, the first ever Hunter Moffitt Award. So named because Hunter won the very first handicap event on Prodigy Bowlers Tour and stands as the winningest player in history on Prodigy. But standing in Lauren's way is a formidable opponent. Alec Rutschman of Topeka, Kansas, dropped a little 272 in the opening game of qualifying and has held the lead ever since. The winner of this match will not only claim the Hunter Moffitt Award as the winner of the Prodigy TOC Handicap Division, but will also secure a spot in the Final Showdown, a 1-game match against the winner of the Scratch Division, where they'll bowl for the ultimate prize, the thing they've all been eyeing all season, the coveted trophy pin. You see all those signatures on it. There's more on the back. And today, one of these 2 players is going to be bowling the winner of the Scratch Division for the coveted trophy pin. But before they get there, they've got to survive this match for the Hunter Moffitt Award, given to the winner of the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions Handicap Division. Alec, being the higher qualifier, said, I want to finish last. So that means he will lead off here on the left lane. He is getting 6 more pins of handicap than Lauren. Wow. Throwing up balls like that, he may not need them. That was a statement ball right there. And he lays it down smoothly. You couldn't even hear it hit the floor. You can hear the pins go down, though. That'll get Lauren's attention. Ball doesn't quite get up. She breaks down the bucket, but leaves the 2-8. Lauren admitted at the KCO Invitational that she would get intimidated bowling against power players, boys especially. And I would say Alec Rutschman probably fits that description of a power player. And he's certainly a boy. But Lauren Leonardi's got the game to stay with most anybody. That one doesn't quite get to the pocket. So once again, a little light. Leaves the 2-4-5-8, the bucket. That would be 16 in the first, spare, and then 6. Added to her 9 pins of handicap. That gives her 25 in the first. Crosses over. That looked a little iffy there for an instant, like it might chop the 2 off the 5, but she gets them all to go, as is her wont. If there's a spare to be made, I'm sure Lauren will give it her best. All right, Alec Rutschman working on a strike, can extend his lead to 20 early in the match. But the stubborn 10 pin remains. Alec bowling a limited schedule on the KCO this season, but he made it count when he was there, winning in March right here at Olathe Lanes East. Ooh. That looked like he might have pulled it, but it's a spare nonetheless. And once again, adding the handicap pins, strike spare to begin would give him 20 in the first. We add in the 15 pins of handicap. That's 35, and now the handicap is all accounted for. Little high, trips out the 4-7. Alec gotta love that. Take a look at his footwork. He's a 5-step guy. Little crossover, nice slide. Ball right by his ankle. Look where his fingers are. The bottom of the ball. That's how these two-handers roll, man. That's where the power lives. You can keep your fingers below the equator. The lower, the better. You can really rev it up. Boom. Lauren, solid in the pocket. She doesn't have the rev rate of a player like Alec Rutschman, so she's got to hit a little more solid in the pocket. With that slower ball speed, she's got to be very accurate, but she is very accurate, and she can throw shots like that. Oh, but that's where she suffers. If she were a little more behind the ball, or perhaps throwing another pound of weight, a little more rev rate, that 5-pin would have got the 7. She gives up a little bit of power, but it doesn't really get her into trouble. It just sacrifices one or two of those off hits that might otherwise be strikes. I remember when I started back bowling after a long absence, I started bowling with a 14-pound ball, and it was that hit, that swishing 7, that seemed like that was one that I was giving up with the lighter equipment. But then you have a little heavier ball, a little more rev rate, a little more axis rotation, and all of a sudden the ball is driving through, chopping the 5 off the 9. In bowling, like in all sports, there are trade-offs. Alec with that spare ball that won't hook as much. Good cover of the 9-pin. And he maintains his 10-pin lead. Now he's struck each time he was up on the left lane so far. When you're striking on one lane and having a hard time getting them all to go on the other lane, the key is you don't want to lose the lane you're lined up on. So he needs to keep striking here. Look at that. Hit him thin and watch him spin. Boy, he just ripped them apart that time. He comes right up through the back of the ball. And that's how that ball has such penetrating motion through the pins. Continuation, they call it. But I tell you what, as long as Lauren can stay locked in like that, she's got that right lane wired, like Alec has the left lane. And if she can hold on to the right lane, maybe pick up a double somewhere along the way on the left lane, she might be a problem for Alec. But once again, she has a strike up and fails to get the double. That would have evened the match. So she'll have to shoot at the spare and be content with a 10-pin deficit. And now the advantage goes to Alec. He has the strike working when he comes up. Look out. As if there was any doubt. I forgot who was shooting at the 10-pin. Looked like it might slip off the edge, but no. Lauren doesn't miss many 10-pins. All right, let's see if Alec can put a double up. This would be huge. But instead, he goes through the nose, and now he's got a problem. The 310 baby split. Not the most difficult of splits, but very missable. You got to hit it on the right side of the 3-pin. Let the ball deflect over into the 10. You're better off shooting this from the extreme left side of the lane. And he executes perfectly. I thought he might have gotten a little too much of the 3-pin, but watch it here. That ball is going to hit the right side of the 3-pin. It's starting to hook, but it actually deflects right and into the 10, just like you draw it up. Uh-oh. So he not only leaves the split, but he short counts on that spare and gets just 5. The 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. It's a little easier without the 9-pin, but there's still lots of ways you can miss this. Shoot it like you're going for the 3, 4. The ball will get the 6 and 10. If the 3 gets the 4, you hope the 4 will get the 7. Wow! How good is that? Alec Rutschman converts the 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. And I mean, he executed this flawlessly. Watch it in split screen so we can see his reaction. The 3 actually gets the 4 and the 7, and look at him. That is a picture of determination. And Lauren doesn't quite get up once again. Nearly had the 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. The 2 and 5 went down, but the 4, 7A is no joke. This is very choppable given that you're shooting at it from the right side of the lane. But she picks it up. Alec's lead is just 8, but it's getting late. Lauren could really use a double. Yeah, you could tell she pulled that one left of target. Lucky it didn't leave a split. Goes through the nose, leaves the 3-6-10. Another challenging spare for most mere mortals. But this is Lauren Leonardi we're talking about. Ho-hum. She makes it look easy. We have not had a double in this match. The difference in this match is just count. And the fact that Alec converted 2 splits. There you go. Big sweeping hook. Sends it way out to the edge. Brings it back. Watch it again. How far right did he throw this? This was a little wider than most. It got out to about 5. Hit light. Gets the shaker to take him out. All right, with an 11-pin lead, a strike here in the 9th to increase it to 21 could be really big. And that's exactly what he gets. Trips the 4. Watch it again. The 2-pin is going to go to the left wall, slip between the 4 and 7 and knock them both out. All right, Lauren, it's go time. Good ball, but that's what you give up with the lower rev rate and a little less ball speed and a little less angle. But she covers the 10, keeps herself in it, but trailing by 22 going into the 10th frame while your opponent is working on a double. Not the ideal circumstance. She can shoot 208 with 3 strikes. Well, she's running out of bullets. Well, a spare and a strike in the 10th will give her 197. Alec can pass that with the first ball in the 10th. Eight on the fill will give her 195. And I know she's disappointed. She wanted this so bad. Alec takes a practice swing, but he's really not going to need it. Just any kind of reasonable count will do it. 8 is fine. He has won the Handicap Division of the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions and will bowl in the Final Showdown for the Coveted Trophy Pin. Spare in the 10th. Gives him 198 in the 9th. He's going to shoot 218 with a strike on his fill ball. And as good as Lauren bowled without an open, Alec has a clean game as well. A clean game that included 2 split conversions. And if you're going to leave a 7-10, that's the place to do it. Now, there may be tears flowing with Lauren Leonardi, but smiles all around in the Rutschman camp. Alec Rutschman wins the Hunter Moffitt Award and is the champion in the Handicap Division at the Prodigy Toc. Here's some fun facts. Alec Rutschman only bowled in 3 KCOs the whole season. In October, he finished 15th in a field of 23 in Division 3. Then he won the March Points Tournament in Division 3 to punch his ticket to today's Prodigy Toc. And a month later, in April, he finished 26th in a field of 42 in Division 2 when he got rated up. Then he goes wire to wire today in the handicap field at the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions to win the Hunter Moffitt Award. In the process, he didn't overwhelm Lauren Leonardi, he just outwilled her. Those back-to-back split conversions of the 3-10 and then the 3-4-6-7-10 were spectacular and demonstrated a level of determination and precision not often seen. But Lauren Leonardi bowled a very Lauren-like game. She is a spare-making machine, not a single open frame. For those keeping track, going back to episode 148, where she won 4 matches, that's now 58 clean frames out of 60 in her last 2 appearances on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in June at the KCO Invitational and then today at the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. That's very impressive. I'd say if Lauren continues to get some coaching at KU, where she'll be attending college this fall, she can take her bowling pretty much as far as she wants to. But she has higher aspirations for life after school than just bowling. And I know Prodigy Land wishes her the very best. And I hope we'll see her come back and bowl as an adult partner in upcoming KCO Adult Youth Doubles tournaments. But in the Handicap Division of the 2023 Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions, this day belongs to Topeka's Alec Rutschman, who matched Lauren with a clean game of his own and was able to get a double in there when Lauren just couldn't quite match Alec strike for strike. So Alec Rutschman will be bowling in the Final Showdown for the Coveted Trophy Pin against the winner of the Scratch Division. And that's where we'll turn our attention next in just a moment. But first, before qualifying began this morning, there was a little bit of business to tend to. The announcement of the winner of the 2023 PBAA Player of the Year.
As you know, this is the first year we've ever done this. The race was really close. Going into the KCO Invitational, we had 3 two-time winners. PJ Douglas could have made it really interesting if he had won to make it 4 two-time winners, because he and Colby, their records were really close in the KCO. But one player ended up winning for a third time. The player of the year is Nolan Nash. You get this, and you get that. Congratulations. Thank you. Give him a hand.
And with that, we turn our attention to the scratch division here at the Prodigy Toc. Like the handicap division, there are 8 players in the scratch field, and 4 have already secured their guaranteed spots in the stepladder. You'll meet them after we determine who the sole survivor will be from the wild card round. And again, just like in the handicap division, the order in which they'll bowl in the wild card round was determined by their final standings in the qualifying round, with the lowest qualifier leading off. And that player, believe it or not, was Colby Lovegren of Lenexa, Kansas. Colby qualified 8th. He captured the title at the first KCO points tournament of the season and the last KCO points tournament of the season, in September here in Olathe, Kansas, and in May up in St. Joseph, Missouri. Colby is the reigning Kansas High School 5A individual boys state champion and is one of the high school seniors who is aging out of youth bowling this summer. Colby also holds the distinction of rolling the very first ball on Prodigy Bowlers Tour after we moved to Kansas City. I'm sure you remember how this works. The player with the low pinfall is eliminated. Colby gets 9 to start. Maybe that'll be good enough. Qualifying 7th and bowling 2nd in the wild card round is Davis Best of Overland Park, Kansas. Davis won his way into the Prodigy Toc when he captured the Division I title at the 2022 KCO November Points Tournament in Lawrence, Kansas. Well, there's another 9 count, so 2 players tied at 9. Qualifying 6th and bowling 3rd in the wild card round is Caden White of Lee Summit, Missouri. Caden received a special exemption to be here. He won the Division I title at the 2023 KCO February Points Tournament in Leavenworth, Kansas, which was not shown on Prodigy Bowlers Tour because that was the tournament I missed due to my car accident. In the end, it just wasn't fair to leave him out through no fault of his own. And while I'm not sure which handicap division we would have covered that day, I know for certain we would have covered Division I. So he's in the field and finds himself battling for a spot in the stepladder through the pressure-packed wild card round. And with that strike, Caden is safely on to frame 2. Qualifying 5th and bowling 4th in the wild card round is Fiona West. Fiona actually got here by winning the Division II title at the 2022 KCO November Points Tournament. But since winning in that handicap division, she was since rated up to Division I, and that's where she finished the KCO season. So she's competing in the scratch division, and I think she'd want it no other way. Well, that strike will get Fiona through to the second frame of the wild card round. And with 2 tied at 9, we have a roll-off. So Colby and Davis will return to the left lane. And we will keep going with those 2 until we eliminate one of them. Once again, Colby will lead off. And if they tie again, we just rinse and repeat. Solid strike. That puts all the pressure on Davis. He has to respond now. You heard him say it. Pressure's on. A strike to continue. Anything less, and Davis is out.
And it's a 10-pin. So Davis Best makes the first mistake and takes the first exit ramp. And yes, he gets the traditional musical send-off. And now we move to frame 2. Back to the top of the order. Colby Lovegren will move to the right lane. The beauty of this format is you don't have to have the high score to continue. You just have to avoid having the low score. And even if you finish last in qualifying, you could conceivably still run the gauntlet through the wild card round and win it all. There's 9 for Colby. It's becoming a habit. With players of this caliber, I'd have to say 9 is no guaranteed ticket through. Every one of these players is a champion. Every one of these players is a 200-plus average. So they're all capable of throwing strikes. There's another 9 count. So for the moment at least, Colby and Caden are on the bubble. And Fiona can punch her ticket at least to the 3rd frame, which will be the decisive frame to determine who is securing that 5th spot in the stepladder. And she will be in it. And we go to another roll-off as Colby and Caden tie for low pinfall in the 2nd frame. And you know the drill. We just saw it with Colby and Davis in the 1st frame. This time Colby and Caden, one of them will be eliminated here momentarily. Colby says, "It ain't gonna be me." Caden needs a strike to keep going. Force another frame in this roll-off between himself and Colby. Anything less than a strike, and Caden is through. But he rips them apart. And with these two, we could be here a while. So this is now a double roll-off. Who will be the first to blink? Sooner or later, the pressure will get to someone. Who will it be? Uh-oh. 7. So the door is wide open for Caden White to get to frame 3. He needs 8 or better. 7, and we continue with the roll-off. 6, and it's Caden who is done. But a strike will get him through, and Colby's day ends right there. And it'll be Caden White and Fiona West in the 3rd and final frame of this wild card round in the scratch division. One of these two is going to get that 5th spot in the stepladder finals. Caden, of course, got here on a special exemption. There's a 9 count. Fiona got here by winning in a handicap division, but when she did, she got re-rated up into Division 1 at the KCO, which is where she finished the season, so she bowls in the scratch division. Fiona lets out a big deep breath to calm her nerves. This is the shot. 9 to force a roll-off with Caden. A strike will put her through to the stepladder finals. Oh, no. 7's no good. And Fiona West's day ends right there. So it's Caden White, the recipient of our special exemption, who has secured the 5th position in the stepladder by surviving the wild card round. And that means it's time to meet the rest of our scratch field. In the opening match, Caden will face the number 4 qualifier, Antonio Miranda of Shawnee, Kansas. Antonio won the Division I title at the 2022 KCO October Points Tournament in Gladstone, Missouri. He was also the KCO points leader in Division I in the 2021-22 season and is aging out of youth bowling this summer. The winner of that match will face the number 3 qualifier, Rhett Ryman of Kansas City, Kansas. Rhett won in back-to-back months on Prodigy, capturing the Division I title with his adult partner Wes Edwards at the 2022 KCO December Youth Adult Doubles Tournament here in Olathe, and at the 2023 January Points Tournament in Lawrence. That winner will advance to face our 2 seed, PJ Douglas of Olathe, Kansas, the older brother of Anthony, who you saw in the handicap stepladder today. PJ won his way into the Prodigy TOC field when he captured the title at the 2023 KCO March Points Tournament, where he needed 3 strikes in the 10th to win by a pin, and he delivered in heart-stopping fashion. And the winner of that match will bowl for the Charles Bostic Award and a spot in the Final Showdown to face Alec Rutschman for the Coveted Trophy Pin against our qualifying leader and the first ever PBAA Player of the Year, Nolan Nash of Greenwood, Missouri. There is no hotter player on Prodigy in recent months than Nolan. He knocked on the door of victory all season and finally broke through at the 2023 March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament in Belton, Missouri, with his adult partner and ball driller, Quentin Mamer. Then, the following month, at the 2023 KCO April Points Tournament in Leavenworth, he won in Division I again. Somewhere in there, he also captured a Heart of America title to keep his winning streak alive. He skipped the May Points Tournament and in June became the only 3-time winner on Prodigy Bowlers Tour this season when he captured the Division I title at the KCO's season-ending Invitational. And that's our star-studded field today. One of these 5 players will compete in the Final Showdown against Alec Rutschman for the coveted trophy pin. But before we get match 1 underway, here's a look at how all 8 scratch players got to this point. Nolan Nash wasted no time taking command when he fired a 268 in the first game of qualifying. Fiona West was close behind with a strong 242 to begin the day. Antonio Miranda and PJ Douglas rounded out the top 4. After game 2, Nolan backed up his 268 with a 279, and all eyes were on our leader as it appeared he was well on his way to an 800 series. Fiona West, Antonio Miranda, and PJ Douglas all held their positions 2, 3, and 4. But then in the third game, things changed. Nolan's hopes of shooting an 800 series withered under the weight of a pedestrian 185, giving him a 732 series. Meanwhile, PJ Douglas put on a charge with a 267 in his third game to finish with 713, securing the 2 seed. Rhett Ryman made a huge move, shooting 244 his third game, which vaulted him up the leaderboard from 5th to 3rd. While the odd person out was Fiona West, whose 190 in the third game dropped her from 2nd all the way down to 5th and into the wild card round. Caden White held steady throughout qualifying, finding himself in 6th after each game. Although he certainly made the most of his opportunity in the wild card round, despite admitting to me that it was a whole different kind of pressure than anything he'd ever felt bowling before. I wish I had $1 for every time a Prodigy kid has told me that about our single ball elimination format. But it's time to light the fuse and get the scratch stepladder finals underway. In match 1, it's our wild card survivor and now the 5 seed, Caden White, facing the number 4 qualifier, Antonio Miranda. With Antonio aging out of youth bowling this summer, this will be the last time we see him on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, unless he comes back to bowl as an adult partner of a youth bowler in a future KCO Adult Youth Doubles tournament. And if he does, I'm sure his partner would love to see shots like that. Solid strike to begin. Antonio with moderate ball speed gives the ball a chance to work. And work it does. Caden, on the other hand, generates a lot of speed with his feet. Big strike. Caden, a smaller guy, smaller frame, younger. He's 2 years younger than Antonio. Starts farther back on the approach, takes big, long steps. In fact, he's a little out of balance at the line from all that speed. He's got to be careful about keeping his spine angle too far forward. When his shoulders get ahead of him, he'll fall off balance at the line. The trick to long approaches like that is to keep your shoulders back, keep your base under you. That was actually a better shot as far as his balance at the line, but the ball just didn't finish. And he's left with a weak 10. Caden White aspires to become an engineer when he grows up. And he engineers a spare there in the second frame. Now once again, Antonio Miranda. He hasn't decided yet what he wants to do when he grows up, and that's okay. He doesn't have to decide today. Carries a league average of 225. By throwing a lot of strikes like that. Antonio actually didn't get started bowling until he was about 14. It was Colby Lovegren who got him into it. They're good buddies. Ball right close to his ankle, and look at, it's not under his head, it's actually to the left of his head, which is better. The closer you can get it to your ankle, the more leverage you've got. Good shot. That 6-pin just wrapped around the 10. A ringing 10. Here's how you leave a ringing 10. Watch the 6-pin. It's the second one from the right. The ball is going to hit the 1 and the 3. It will knock the 3 into the 6 at such an angle that the 6 is forced around the 10 rather than into the 10. When you're bowling, it's very annoying. Well, that's even more annoying. It's to whiff a single pin spare. A player of Antonio's caliber, you would never expect to see that. But that gives Caden the lead, sitting on the bench. Well, just as Antonio is close friends with Colby Lovegren, Caden White is close friends with Nolan Nash, our PBAA Player of the Year. Another apparent good hit. But the ball actually finished a little too strong, chopping the 5 right off the 9. On a perfect strike, the ball hits the 1, 3, 5, and 9. I know we hear sometimes talk of splitting the 8 and 9 as the ball goes through, and it looks pretty and all, but that is just a whisker away from chopping the 5 off the 9 and leaving a stone 9. And none of us like to do that. All right, Caden, back up on the left lane. See if he can measure this one. I'd say so. He is a determined young man. Here's Caden's footwork. 5-step approach. A little bit of a slide. He hopped that time at the line. I think that's because he gets all that forward momentum. If he had slipperier shoes, he'd probably foul. God, I just love the way Antonio's ball goes through the pins most of the time. He just lets the ball do the work. He doesn't try to overthrow it. Sometimes you see a player just throw it so hard it never has a chance to read the pattern and make the climb back to the pocket. Antonio does that perfectly almost every time. He may not always get a strike, but he always lets the ball do the work. Wow. He is in dead stroke. Here is his footwork. Also a 5-step approach. Very simple approach. He's the planter, not a slider. Over about 18 at the arrows. That one was out to about 6. And down they go. Caden almost had to get that strike just to keep pace with Antonio. He'd be trailing if it weren't for that open frame when Antonio whiffed the 10-pin. Watch this. A little bit of a hop step there at the foul line. I'm not sure if he's sticking at the line or if that's just a function of all the speed he generates with his feet going forward, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Boom. Here's a side-by-side comparison of these two-handers. Synced up at the release point. Very different positions. See Caden's head over to the left. He falls off the shot a little bit to the right, but they both get a good result. Well, that time Antonio just got the ball a little too far to the right. We're bowling on the house shot. He found the friction out there a little too soon, read the pattern early, and cut through the heart of the pins. Here's the 310, the baby split. We saw this earlier. Alec Rutschman made it. And so does Antonio. Beautifully done. Watch this. I thought he sent that too far to the right, but that spare ball he throws hooks just enough that he got back and tickled the 3-pin. Double, open, double, spare. And back to a double now? Maybe. Another solid strike. Boy, he's just seems to have an unlimited supply of these. Over about 17 at the arrows, out to about 6. And I'll tell you what, his ball just goes through the pins like a hot knife through butter. And that may have gotten to Caden just a little bit. Seems like he pulled up out of that shot and leaves the 3-6-9. There are more ways to miss this spare than I would really care to contemplate. But I would much rather see him throw a hooking ball than a spare ball. and that's why. Anytime you have double wood, the 3-9, the 2-8, the 1-5, I always recommend hooking at it. Because if you hit off the center of the front pin, it's going to deflect. And you've got to get that ball to drive through to carry out the back pin. So I'd call that an unforced error. And Caden surrenders the lead to Antonio. The messenger fails to deliver the message. And Caden has a 10-pin staring at him. Well, you get a group of champions like this, you're going to have close matches. Caden uses the very last board on the lane to convert the 10-pin. Well, let's see if Antonio can continue this pattern. Double, open, double, spare. See if he can get a double again. I'm going to go with no on that one. He leaves the 4-6. This is trouble. Most of the time, players will just go for one, take the count, and take your medicine. What? Antonio Miranda just made the 4-6 on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. I don't believe it. I've seen the 4-6 made a time or two, but it's either been by bouncing one out or by hitting it so thin that the top of the 6-pin toppled over into the 4. I've never seen it made this way, where he slid the bottom end of the pin across the lane. I didn't think you could do that. This is incredible. Watch his reaction. And for you lip readers, that's an oh my God. Well, I might have the same reaction if it had been me. That is some kind of shot right there. And he keeps his 1-pin lead. Well, until he left another 10-pin. Now the match is even. Wow, that was quite something. I'm still buzzing over that 4-6 conversion. But now Antonio has a 10-pin. He faced one of these earlier in the match and he missed it. And he missed another one. Unbelievable. He can make the 4-6, but he can't make a 10-pin. And that just handed the lead to Caden White. I have seen some crazy things in this sport in my years. All right, Caden, see if you can make the most of it. Well, that goes high, breaks up the split, and now he's left with the 4-7. You would think this is a pretty routine spare, but I don't know what's routine anymore. Oh no! He chops the 7 off the 4, hooking past the 4-pin, and he hands the lead right back to Antonio. I don't want it. No, you take it. All right, well, we're down to the 10th frame now. Antonio with a 2-pin lead. And Caden just sent that one into the weeds. Well, the good news, if it is good news, is he's not working on a spare, so he doesn't lose any count. But now, here's how you make the 1-2-4-8. Put the ball right on the 1 and 2. That ball will drive through and get the 8. 2 will get the 4. Just like that. Well, count obviously is very important here. If he can get a strike and finish with 191, he'll force Antonio to fill 19 in the 10th to win. And I think it's fair to say that nothing is assured. We have seen some crazy twists and turns to this match. All right. Caden's done all he can. That's a 191, so Antonio needs to mark and then fill 9 on any extra shots he gets. Needs to fill 19. That makes his job a little easier, because if he had made a spare in the 10th, he would have needed 9 on his fill ball. As it stands, throwing a strike, now you get 2 shots to get 9. This is a quintessential Antonio Miranda strike, where he gives it plenty of room, lets the ball climb back, and it hits like a truck. 9 pins will wrap it up. And that'll do it. Well, I think when you make the 4-6, you should win the match. I think there's a rule like that somewhere hidden deep in the USBC rules. I'm not sure. You'd have to look it up. But I'm pretty sure if you score 1 pin more than your opponent, that'll do it. And Antonio can throw this one in the moat and win. But he won't. He gets them all. That is a 203 to 191 win, and one that we will not soon forget. I'm pretty sure of that. We'll remember it for this moment right here when Antonio Miranda made the 4-6. How about this? Sliding it over. And where's Al Michaels when you need him to come on and say, he did what? Watch it again. I'm sure you'll be watching this replay for years to come on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. The day Antonio Miranda made the 4-6. That was fun to watch. But Antonio Miranda takes match 1. And now he will face the 3-seed Rhett Ryman in our next match.
Now, from the Prodigy Bowlers Tour newsroom, with reports from across the universe, around the world, throughout the nation, and up your alley, this is Prodigy Striking News.
This just into the Prodigy Bowlers Tour newsroom. Just 2 days after the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions was staged and recorded for airing here, one of the young champions who appeared in the tournament was bowling in the High School Challenge Summer League here at Olathe Lanes East when lightning struck, and he had a once-in-a-lifetime night on the lanes. 17-year-old Davis Best opened his 4-game set with a 300 game. Then he followed it with another 300 game. It's not every day you stand at 600 after your first 2 games. Then he started his 3rd game with a turkey, giving him a total string of 27 strikes in a row, and finished game 3 with an open in the 10th for 225. That's 825 for 3 games. Then he came back with a 9-strike 232 in game 4 for a 4-game total of 1057. Congratulations to Davis Best on a phenomenal night on the lanes. Just when you thought things couldn't get any more bizarre, after Antonio Miranda won a hard-fought match against Caden White that included a heart-stopping 4-6 split conversion, Antonio suddenly informed me that something very unexpected had just come up, and he has to leave. I asked if he was sure, and he confirmed that he had to pull out of the tournament at this most inopportune moment. So, without warning, Antonio has been forced to withdraw. And while this is highly unusual, it is not unprecedented. We had a player withdraw in the 9th frame of a match on Prodigy once back in Georgia when his parent pulled him out of the competition. I thought it was strange then, and today's circumstance seems strange now. But our immediate thoughts are with Antonio and whatever the circumstances are that have forced him to withdraw suddenly from the competition. I just hope it's nothing too serious. He didn't elaborate on the details, and I didn't feel it was my place to probe. So all I can tell you is Antonio has withdrawn from the competition. If we find out more, we'll pass it along. But for now, Caden White must be living a charmed life. First, he gets into the TOC field on a special exemption. Then he survives the nerve-wracking wildcard round to advance to the stepladder finals. And now he's the beneficiary of a highly unusual situation of his opponent withdrawing, leaving him as the alternate to take over and move on to the next match. So despite losing to Antonio Miranda, Caden White is up again, this time to face our number 3 qualifier, Rhett Ryman. And all you can really do is just shake your head and say, well, strange things happen in this world. But we certainly hope that Antonio's reason for having to leave is nothing serious and that everything is okay. But our attention turns to match 2, and Caden White will lead off. And he makes the most of his opportunity here. Caden said to me, I'm going to win this for Antonio. And I said, well, listen, I wouldn't put the cart before the horse just yet. You get some pretty good opponents ahead of you. I just take it one shot at a time. And, well, he did. That first shot was pretty good. Now, Rhett Ryman, one of the 2-time winners on the season. Well, that one creeped a little high. And he leaves the 4. I've spoken to Rhett about his game, and when he gets in trouble, it's usually because he goes a little too fast, gets up on his toes. Now, on that shot, it looked like his left foot spun out, and it was pointing to the right. And the ball was not all that close to his ankle when he let it go. And you can lose all kinds of accuracy and other advantages when you let that ball leak away from your body coming through. But Rhett's a good player. And lest anybody think these KCO kids only bowl on house shots and can't bowl on sport patterns, Rhett made the advancers round last year at Junior Gold and has his eyes set on getting a little farther this year. He is confident going in. Both of these players young. Caden is 16. Rhett is just 15. Well, you see the pin setter cycling on lane 14, and he caught that out of the corner of his eye. No telling what triggered it, but it was enough to distract him, and that was really smart. And that is not easy to do, what he just did. Just pull it back when it was at the top of the swing. Lucky he didn't pull a muscle. But when you're young and full of free holies, you can do that. When you get to be my age, you try that, and there's no telling what you might throw out of socket. Well, he got that one a little wide of his mark. And on the house shot, you got more friction the farther right you go. And it just read the friction too soon, started hooking early, and went through the nose. Lucky he didn't leave a split. But another easy spare. And he makes short work of the 4-pin. Both of these fellows want to be engineers when they grow up. Brett says he wants to be a structural engineer. I'm not sure what kind of engineer Caden wants to be. Ringing 10. Man, he threw that one good. Six-pin flies around the 10. That's the hallmark of a ringing 10. He'll go cross lane at it. Oops. You won't see him do that very often. But clearly an unforced error. Caden started bowling when he was 12. And he lists as his best moment in bowling, winning tournaments. And he's won a few. He's won a couple of KCOs, an HOA, and a couple of Kansas City USBC tournaments. He lives on the Missouri side. And rips the rack. That looked like a lucky shot to some people, but there's no luck involved in this. This is a good strike. With the modern equipment, a high percentage ball is light, especially if you have a high rev rate. All right, Rhett still looking for his first strike of the match. And yet he leads. Fast 8. Now that may seem strange to some people that Rhett could be leading and his opponent has 2 strikes, Rhett has none. But that underscores the importance of spares. Caden has the open frame. Rhett has 2 spares, and you got to assume he's going to get a third one here. He shouldn't have any problem with the 4-7, although we have seen this missed today. Not by Rhett, though. And he maintains his lead. 3 spares beats 2 strikes in an open every time. Unless those 2 strikes are in sequence. That's how you really pile up the lead, is by stringing strikes. You can get them in a row. That's a good thing. Still, spares or not, Rhett would like to unlock the mystery of these lanes and get a strike. And he liked that one as soon as it came off his hand. He didn't send that one out too wide. The mistakes he's made thus far is when he got it a little too wide. This one never gets wider than about 7 at the break point. That's been the sweet spot all day. You might take a different route to get to that sweet spot, depending on your rev rate, axis rotation, and whatnot. But there he is again, right in that about 7 area at the break point. And that's been the golden spot. All right, let's take another look at Caden. We've shown you this all season long. You want the ball below the head at the release point, as close to the ankle as possible. He looks in good position, and not surprisingly, he gets a good result. And he's right there again. This time in the half pocket, and he rips them apart. Take another look at it here. Pulls right up through the ball, and that will get it to penetrate through the rack. That's what you're looking for. All right, Rhett. I think you got a live one here. Ooh. Once again, he makes that mistake out to the right. It reads the friction early, hooks early, goes through the nose. And now the 3, 6, 10. A very missable, choppable spare. Put the ball on the 3 and 6. Oh, too much 3-pin, sends the 6 around the 10. I was just going to say Rhett is a really good spare shooter, but he just didn't show it on that one. That's just a very difficult spare. But he's digging himself a hole. Halfway through the match, Caden with a 23-pin advantage. Boom. Rhett sets himself up with that strike. Probably his best shot of the match. Good balance at the line. Plenty of leverage. Everything you want to see. All 10 in the pit. But look at this guy. I think Caden just realized he's got nothing to lose now. He should have been out at the end of the last match. He didn't think he'd get through the wild card round. And really, he's not even supposed to be in the tournament. So he's playing with house money here. You get a guy like that who feels like he's got nothing to lose, everything to gain, and he's bowling well. Look out. Oh, he didn't like that one off his hand. He thought he'd pulled it, but it's set in the oil. That's when you know you're lined up correctly on the house shot. You've got a little pull area, got a little miss area to the right. Oh, he missed 3 boards left. But it looked good in the pins. Rhett, I think you have no margin for error now. Boy, he gave that one a little extra loft to keep it on line. We'll see it again here. Watch this shot. He's lofting at about 8 feet out on the lane. That only got out to about 9. But now here's the situation. Rhett can still shoot 235. Problem is, Caden can still shoot 268. Rhett shreds the rack. Boy, it must be nice to bowl with that much power. Side-by-side look at these two competitors. Again, Caden taking a much longer approach to generate speed. Rhett is in decidedly better balance at the line. But they both get the good result. And if that phone is for me, tell them I'm not here. Well, something more is ringing than the phone. That 10 pin is ringing. Got to be careful with this. Can't be giving any pins away. This could turn into a real close match in a hurry. Caden, a good spare shooter. We saw him whiff one earlier. That was very out of character. Possible 247 if he takes it off the sheet. Rhett, 235 possible if he strikes out. Oh, man. Talk about leading a charmed life. Everything's coming up roses for Caden today. That had 210 written all over it. But instead, just the 10. And he makes short work of that. But that does make a very close finish possible now. If both players strike out, Caden would finish with 236. Rhett, with a strike in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, he'd have 235. We'd be looking at a one-pin match. And obviously, if that were to happen, everything would be riding on the final ball by both players. Rhett doesn't like the rack. He's going to take a re-rack. And I don't blame him. If you don't like the way they're setting, hit the reset button. Well, I don't know if you heard him, but he said, this doesn't look any better than the last one, but I'll shoot it. Usually when they re-rack, it's because the 1 and 3 are a little tight. Boy, I tell you what, didn't seem to bother him, though. And game on. It's now an 11-pin match heading into the 10th. And Rhett has a strike up while Caden does not. This is what you like to see, a close finish. But this is probably the most important shot of the match for Rhett Ryman right here. He needs this to pull within one pin. If he doesn't strike here, it's going to be tough to win. Oh, he just overthrew it. He gave it plenty of room. Earlier in the match, when he threw it wide like that, it hooked on him early. But he gave it a lot extra loft to get that ball to skid down the lane, and it just never read. And now he's got the 2, 4, 5, 8. Well, even if he makes this and fills up the frame, it's going to be a tough win, but he's got to make this. And he chops it. Unbelievable. And he's essentially handed the match to Caden White. Caden is sitting at 196 if he throws 2 balls in the gutter in the 10th frame, which I'm pretty sure he won't. He needs just a few pins. Just stay behind the line and keep it on the lane. And that'll do it. Caden White wins match 2 and gets past Rhett Ryman. amazing how easy the pins will go down when you know it's not really an important shot. I mean, it was important that he keep it on the lane, but it wasn't important that he get a strike. And now he's gone to the bag to pick out another ball to just see if he gets a different look. That's smart. Ah! Well, I don't know what to make of that. Do you like that reaction or not? I don't like that it was trying to leave the 7-10, but I love that it powered them out. Well, that'll give him something to chew on while we're in break. But that puts him in the 230s. 236 with a strike. And that's what it is. Caden White with a 236-199 victory over our 3-seed Rhett Ryman. And now he advances to match 3 to face P.J. Douglas when we return. Hello, Prodigy Land. It's me, Coach Randy. I was recently invited back to be the guest once again on the world's #1 bowling podcast, Phantom Radio, hosted by Len Nicholson, the longtime lane maintenance director for the PBA's national tour. Len's been doing this podcast for over 20 years, making him one of the early pioneers of podcasting. His guest list on the show reads like a who's who of bowling. Just in the last year or so, he's interviewed people like Carmen Salvino, one of the PBA's founding members, Del Warren, the lead instructor at Kegel, Larry Lichstein, the PBA's longtime director of player services and a PBA Hall of Famer, Kim Terrell-Kearney, Hall of Fame bowler and college bowling coach, and the list goes on and on. Well, Len learned of what we're doing with Prodigy Bowlers Tour a while back, and he invited me on the show to tell the Prodigy story. And now I want to invite you to check out his podcast. Go to www.kegel.net/phantom. I've now appeared on the show twice, on the March 29th episode and most recently on the May 10th episode. And to hear Len tell it, he may even invite me back again. He really likes Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Len Nicholson also has asked me to help spread the word about his new Phantom Radio Junior Bowling Club. It's free to join, and there'll be free prizes, instruction, and you might even get to hear your name on the Phantom Radio podcast. To sign up, go to kegel.net/phantom and look for the link to join the club. We now return you to our regularly scheduled program, already in progress. You'd have to say Caden White is nothing if not opportunistic. He gets into the TOC on a special exemption, then he survives the single ball elimination wildcard round, loses the opening match of the stepladder, but continues because the player who defeated him unexpectedly withdraws. And then he defeats Rhett Ryman, one of the top players in the area who was in the running for Player of the Year. Clearly, Caden White has his eyes on the prize. But next up is another tough opponent. The 2-seed today is P.J. Douglas. In his one win on Prodigy Bowlers Tour this season, P.J. delivered a season's worth of thrills in one edge-of-your-seat final frame when he needed all 3 strikes to defeat Colby Lovegren by a single pin. This after P.J. had only struck 3 times the whole match leading up to that point. But he performed in the clutch, and that's what champions do. All of these players we're seeing today are champions, so every one of them has proven that they're capable of delivering when all the chips are pushed to the center of the table. And these two, Caden White and P.J. Douglas, are 2 of the best. Little uncertainty about who was going to lead off. They had a change of heart. Now P.J.'s going to start the match. Both of these players very good in the clutch. If it comes down to one of them needing a shot in the 10th, I wouldn't bet against either one. P.J. steamrolls him on his first toss of the match. Had to like that after sitting idly by watching to see who he was going to face in this match. Over 10 at the arrows, out to about 7 at the break point. He's very comfortable there. He bowls league in this house. Caden makes it look easy too. Both of these young fellows will be around in youth bowling next year as well. Caden's got a couple more years left. PJ has 1 more year left. Beautiful strike to begin. And now Caden will move over to the left lane. His favorite pro bowler, Jason Belmonte. Now that one doesn't quite make it all the way back. And he leaves the 2-4. Could have been worse. Looked like he might have had the bucket there for a moment. This is a pretty routine spare for a right-hander. And Caden's a really good spare shooter. All right, P.J. Douglas. His best finish at Junior Gold, 45th back in 2018 when he was a U12. Another powerful strike. Man, when he hits the pocket, those pins just make a different kind of sound, don't they? Very simple, repeatable game. Ball right under his head. It's right next to his ankle. Perfect position. Always in good balance at the line. All 6'4" of him. And another one. Let's take a look at PJ's footwork. 4-step approach, tiny little first step. Each step gets a little longer. Over 10 at the arrows, out to about 7. And, well, you can't do it any better than that. Although Caden says, I'll try. Caden wasn't sure he was going to get in this tournament. And so all he did was go out and be tournament leader at the KCO Invitational, and he gave it his best effort to win his way in. But Nolan Nash had other ideas, and we extended a special invitation to Caden, and I think he has proven himself worthy of it. Another solid strike. Kicks out that 10-pin. Keeps the match close. Here's Caden's footwork. Little hop at the end. An indication that he's really got that forward momentum going. If he'd slow down a little bit, he would finish in perfect balance. But he does that to generate ball speed. PJ doesn't need to do that to generate ball speed. When you're 6'4", generating ball speed is usually not a problem. PJ doesn't quite get that one to finish the way he would have liked. So he leaves the 10-pin. Now he has had some difficulty converting 10-pins on Prodigy in the past. And he runs past that one. Wow. A player of his skill level, I just don't expect to see that, but it just goes to prove that in this sport, you can't take anything for granted, no matter how good you are. Bowling is like a lot of other sports. It is helpful to have a short memory. When something bad happens, you just forget about it and turn your attention to next. And get another little string of strikes started, just like PJ has done. That's all you can do. Can't look back. Got to look forward. If you dwell on the bad shots, you'll never get out of your own way. You've got to be your own best friend on the lanes. If you're not, nobody else will be. PJ's really good about staying in the present. Caden comes up a little thin on that one. And this is a tricky spare, the 2-4-5. Usually, you'll see the pros play this down the left side of the lane. It narrows the gap between the 2 and the 5 to reduce the chance for a chop. That's how Caden goes at it, and he makes the spare. We're halfway through this match, and it is all even. The winner of this match will face Nolan Nash for the Charles Bostic Award that goes to the champion of the Scratch Division here at the Prodigy TOC. Good shot. That looked like it was finishing nicely, but it just finished a little behind the head pin, and that 6 pin wraps around the 10. The bowler's nemesis, the right-handed bowler anyway, ringing 10. Caden takes care of it. So PJ gets up in the 6th, working on a strike, nursing a 1-pin lead. He can extend to 11 if he can catch a double here. PJ looking down at his feet. He is always meticulous about setting himself before he takes off. And when you're that careful about the setup, usually the rest of the approach takes care of itself. And PJ with a powerful strike in the 6th. That was so good, it's worth another look. Simple down and in shot. He is a master at it. Back on May 30th in that high school bowling challenge league, PJ made the 7-10. He's got all the shots. And now he's got a 21-pin lead over Caden. Watch this last one. Both the right foot and the ball get started at exactly the same instant in this 4-step approach. Slaps out the 10-pin, banks another strike. Caden's not going away, though. If there's one thing I have learned about this young fellow is he will not give up. He's right there. Now he needs to catch a double to carve into PJ's lead, get it back down to 11. He likes it. Oh, and he gets the mixer. You could tell the way he started to run it out. He knew it was close. Watch his reaction to this one. Starts to move right. He knows it's close. But PJ, with a double up, he can run away and hide here. Oh! That was just a pinch high. Enough that it chopped the 5 off the 9 and leaves the stone 9. And now, all of a sudden, This match takes on a whole new dimension. 10 pins separating these two. PJ will have a spare up, assuming he makes this. Caden will have a double working. Easy peasy. Well, PJ Douglas lists as his favorite pro bowler Norm Duke. Now, there's an odd couple, if ever I've heard of one. PJ is 6'4". I think Norm might be 5'4". He's a pretty short guy. He may not be quite 5'4". He might be 5'6", 5'7". That's in my territory. I've heard all the short jokes my whole life. Oh, I wasn't sure that was going to make it back. But he got just enough of the head pin to create the wall action on the left side of the rack. Watch this. Once again, it's going to be the head pin that does all the damage. Watch it. It'll go to the left wall and come back and get the 4 and the 7 and the 5 and the 8, and they all go down. Oh, Caden really could have used that one. That strike would have tied the match. But as it is, he now stands 11 pins in arrears if he makes this 10 pin heading into the 10th frame. Okay. And now here we go. PJ is going at a 226 pace if he goes spare strike in the 10th. Caden can strike out in the 10th for 225. But he really needs a double here in the 10th to put the heat on PJ. There's the first one. I told you this kid would not give up. Watch it again. Playing over about the 4th arrow, gets it out to about 9 or 10. He's a little farther inside than some of the other players that we've seen today. But now, this is the shot. He's got to have this one. And he gets it. He makes PJ show up. Another good shot. And now count is super important here. Fill it up, and he will force PJ to strike in the 10th. All right, there's 9. That gives him 224. So PJ can go spare 9 and win. If Caden had gotten that last strike, he would have forced PJ to throw a strike either on his first ball of the 10th or on his fill ball. But either way, he's going to have to mark and fill 9. A strike on his first ball will make his task a whole lot easier. And when you need a strike, is there anybody more clutch than PJ Douglas? We've seen him do this before on Prodigy, where he needs them in the 10th, and he gets them all. Watch this one again. Not quite the shutout ball, but that got him close. And I mean, that's just high flush, 10 in the pit. He needs 5 pins. 10 will do. That's a winner. And P.J. Douglas is going to go into the championship match here in the scratch division of the Prodigy TOC with a chance to win the Charles Bostic Award. Watch it again. Beautiful down and in shot. Boy, when he needs one, he is good in the clutch. Man. 246 with another strike here on the fill ball as we wait for the pin setter to give him a set of pins to shoot at. There we go. And a strike to close it out. That's a 246 to 224 victory over Caden White, who bowled great today and got a great break when Antonio Miranda withdrew earlier. But it's going to come down to P.J. Douglas and Nolan Nash for the Charles Bostic Award. Well, I think Caden White will have to admit he made the most of his day. He got all the way to the semifinal match in a tournament that he wasn't even sure he was going to get to bowl in until about a week ago. And he might have been bowling in the title match if not for P.J. Douglas, who came armed and ready to rock and roll. P.J. just steamrolled the pins in that match, en route to a rock-solid 246. Caden shouldn't feel too bad. When your opponent tosses a 10-strike game at you, there's not much you can do but tip your hat and shake his hand. So it's P.J. Douglas who has advanced to the title match in the scratch division and will now face our qualifying leader, Nolan Nash, the PBAA Player of the Year. Nolan has won the title in his last 3 appearances on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, so you know he'll be ready to roll. But while PJ has a quiet exterior, what we've learned about him is that he burns on the inside. Whatever happens, we're going to see a real contrast in styles here. Nolan with the rapid-fire two-handed style, and PJ with the more traditional one-handed down and in shot. They're bowling this match for the Charles Bostic Award, so named because Charlie won the most titles on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in its first season, and he captured the first coveted trophy pin and then went on to give it away to Hunter Moffitt, who we affectionately referred to at the time as America's favorite 9-year-old. The winner of this match will go on to bowl in the Final Showdown against Alec Rutschman for the Prodigy TOC's ultimate prize, the coveted trophy pin. And here's a fun fact for you. These two players, Nolan Nash and P.J. Douglas, had 2 of the highest averages in the KCO this whole season. Nolan finished the year with the #1 average at 225. Rhett Ryman was second with 220. P.J. Douglas and Antonio Miranda were third with 219. Nolan Nash starts the way we've seen him start so many times, with a powerful strike. Take a look at his game. We've seen it before. A 4-step approach. He plants at the foul line, usually ends up in perfect balance. And down they go. All right, PJ. Well, he's just a little high with that one. Nearly had the 410. But the 4 goes out, and he's left with just the 10 pin. A spare that we saw him miss in the last match. I don't know if he's thinking about that or not. When you have a spare that gives you trouble, the best thing to do is try to visualize yourself making it, not thinking about the bad shots where you missed it. PJ makes short work of it. Well, PJ Douglas got started bowling in a family league. He was 7 And that's worked out pretty well for him and the family. They all still bowl. And PJ's mom especially excited about the prospects of this fall because PJ's younger brother, Anthony, will be going to high school this fall, and he and PJ will be on the same high school team. That one looked good right off his hand. Take another look at PJ's game. Very upright at the address position. Push away and that first step happen at the same time, just like we teach it on a 4-step approach. Down and in, and down go the pins. You just get the feeling when Nolan is up on the approach that he just expects to strike. And some players are like that. They exude such confidence that you know that they're thinking, well, this is going to be a strike, and there's just no question about it. And here's one of the reasons why. He's got that ball right under his head, close to his ankle. We've talked about this all season long. You see this in the best players. It's one of those key positions that you look for. Certainly not the only one, but boy, he checks a lot of boxes. Just a pinch high that time. And he doesn't get the trip on the 4, so Nolan will have a simple single pin spare to shoot at. He lists Brad Miller as his favorite pro bowler. And the person who got him started bowling, well, that was his uncle Casey. So I think we all owe a debt of thanks to Uncle Casey. All right. These two players will not give an inch. Both of them very determined. But boy, they show it in different ways. Nolan shows it on the outside. PJ churns on the inside. Oh, and he gets the light shaker. And then he's stone face coming back to the ball return. Well, that's PJ. He might give you a little fist pump now and then, but most of the time, he won't show you much. Some players are just like that. They just don't show their emotions on the outside. And other players just like to stay focused on the next shot. Hard to tell what's going through this young man's mind, but he is very focused. That looked like it might not get back, but he had just enough of the head pin to create a little wall shot action. Watch it again. This time the head pin will go to the left wall and come back and get the 4, 5, and 7. Watch it. The old Dick Weber strike. He made a career out of getting shots like that. Oh boy. Well, you think Nolan Nash doesn't burn on the outside? Watch his emotional reaction to this. He is not a happy camper. But earlier today, Antonio Miranda showed him the roadmap to make this. The 4-6. Boy, Nolan would love to see history repeat itself right here. Not to be. 9 out. And that's an open frame, and he has fallen 24 behind P.J. Douglas, largely on the strength of that turkey that P.J. just laid on him. So now Nolan will just try to regroup. Forget about the bad shot. Go about starting another string of strikes. But no. It breaks high on him again, and now he's got another wide open split. The 6-7. Well, he made the 4-10, which is the mirror image of this, a couple of weeks ago on Prodigy. The 6-7, not an easy split, but easier than the 4-6. Ooh, and he gave it a ride, too. But that's back-to-back opens for Nolan Nash, and I'm not sure we've seen him do that all season. But now the psychology of match play is when your opponent makes a mistake like that, if you've got a strike up, now is the time to put another strike on top and take advantage of the opening. Oh, no! Well, PJ throws way too much ball to be leaving 8-10s. You got to wonder if that was a bad rack, or maybe he just didn't catch it all at the bottom of the swing. But whatever the case, that one hit like a marshmallow. And I would never guess that PJ would be leaving any 8-10s in my lifetime. But that's a sure open. So that keeps the match a little closer anyway. Nolan's thinking to himself, if you want to give me another one of those, I would take it right about now. But I'm sure PJ is thinking other thoughts. Wow, talk about both players hitting a little bumpy patch. Well, the bumpy patch just got bumpier. Goodness gracious. The 4-6-10. Well, you would shoot this the same as the 4-6 if you wanted to try to make it, but I suspect that PJ will go the more traditional route and just take the 2 on the right. Take the count. It would make this a 10-pin match. Oh, he actually went for it. Well, it only cost him a pin by getting 8 out instead of 9. But all of a sudden, what looked like it was going to be a runaway is now a match within a mark. Nolan can take the lead with 2 strikes on this turn. But he leaves a 10-pin. And now, all of a sudden, this match is starting to look like his qualifying round. He starts out hot as a firecracker, and then it just kind of fizzles. Got to cover this. Keep it close. Oh, no. Well, that ball bounced out of the gutter and knocked down the 10-pin, but once the ball is in the gutter, it's a dead ball. So that is an open frame. Take another look at it. Once the ball falls into the channel, now it's a dead ball. And if it bounces out, it doesn't count. Same thing is true if the ball were to happen to bounce out of the pit and knock down any pins. They wouldn't count. You can knock pins out of the back, and they'll knock other pins down and count, but not the ball. There you go. That's what he's looking for. When you throw as much ball as Nolan Nash or P.J. Douglas, you're much better off in the light pocket. With all those revs, this is where the percentage is. In this light pocket, watch everything move left. That's the way to play the modern game with these balls that they're throwing and with all these revs they got. Pins have no chance when you play there. Oh, I thought he'd pulled it, but it's set in the oil, telling me PJ is lined up properly because he's got a little pull room. Might have a little swing area out to the right as well. When you're bowling on the house shot, you should have 2, 3, maybe 4 boards to hit and still get to the pocket. You see that ball never got to the right of the tracer. He pulled it 2 or 3 boards left of his target, but he's got some good pull area. That was a better shot. That was more the line that he's looking for. You watch this one. This ball is going to get to the right of 10. At the arrows, it's at about 11, but you see at the tracer, it's on about 8. That's the line he's playing. He got away with it in the previous frame, but you won't get him every time. Oh! Looked like Nolan was going to go high and leave himself another challenging split, but something knocked out the 4 and the 10. Watch this. I'm sure it's the 2 pin that gets the 4. I don't know what gets the 10. Maybe the 6? Oh, no, it's the 3 pin that comes off the wall and gets the 10. That's a little unusual. But in tournament competition, you don't ask questions. You take them however you can get them. Another one of these. He's left 3 wide open splits in this match. Now, he left the 6-7 earlier and darn near made it. Here's where you want to put the ball, right on the right edge of the 6 pin. Slide it across the lane into the 7. But he gets a little too much of it. So that's now 4 open frames. 3 splits he's left. And, of course, he whiffed that one 10 pin that bounced out of the gutter. So that is not usually the path to victory. All right, PJ Douglas. He can just about put this title away right here. Ringing 10. Well, the best Nolan Nash can get is 180. Assuming PJ makes this 10 pin, that it would give him 163 in the 8th with a spare up. He'd just need good count in the 10th frame, and he will win the Scratch Division Championship here at the Prodigy Bowlers Tour, TOC. There's the conversion of the 10 pin, as you would expect. And now PJ Douglas just needs to stay behind the foul line and keep the ball in the center of the lane. And he will be on to the final showdown against Alec Rutschman. That'll do it. All 10. It's a beautiful thing. PJ Douglas has won the Scratch Division of the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions here at Olathe Lanes East. The only one-hander in our field today in the Scratch Division. And it looked like these lanes were made for him. Through the nose with that one, but he's going to be 202 or 203, depending on what he does with this spare of the 6 pin. And Nolan just hit a wall. He had 3 splits this match. Well, he runs past the 6 pin, but it doesn't matter. A 202 for P.J. Douglas and Nolan. See if you can't finish strong here, pal. Well, it's been that kind of a day. When they're falling in droves. And when they're not, they're really not. Spare strike finish for 170. Both of these youngsters are going to be back next year on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in the KCO. Nolan's just 16, so he's got a couple more years of youth bowling. That's pretty scary to all the Division I players. PJ's got 1 more year left of youth bowling. Nolan Nash closes with a strike. It's not the game he wanted to bowl, but he does walk away with the PBAA Player of the Year award, and that's not nothing. But it's P.J. Douglas who takes the Charles Bostic Award as the champion in the scratch division at the Prodigy Toc. He'll bowl Alec Rutschman for the coveted trophy pin next. I'm sure Nolan Nash did not envision his day ending this way. After a 268-279 start to his qualifying round, Nolan wraps qualifying with a 185, and then the best he can do in the championship match is a 170. But Nolan still had a memorable day, walking away with the first ever PBAA Player of the Year award, which he richly deserves for an excellent season of bowling and one in which he became the only 3-time winner on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. But the winner of the Charles Bostic Award for capturing the Prodigy Tournament of Champions title in the scratch division goes to P.J. Douglas, who fired games of 246 and 202 in the championship round. But of course, as Steve Jobs used to say, there is one more thing. Isn't it interesting that it comes down to the 2 players who won at the 2023 KCO March Points Tournament? Alec won 2 matches that day, first against Caden Clark and then against the leader, Caden Snyder. And P.J. Douglas gave us a finish like no other we'd ever seen on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, when he stepped up in the 10th frame, needing all 3 strikes to defeat Colby Lovegren, getting the first one on a Brooklyn, then tripping out the 9 late, and finally throwing a dead solid perfect shot in the 12th for the win, to the delight of his dad and brother who were watching from behind. Today for these 2, the stakes are a little different. They're already Prodigy TOC champions.
Alec in the Handicap Division, PJ in the Scratch Division. And now they're bowling for the icing on the cake. The winner of this match will become the champion of the 2023 Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions and will win this. The prize they've been eyeing since the season began in September, the Coveted Trophy Pin. So here we go. We gave the choice of starting lanes to the Handicap Division winner, and Alec wants to finish last, so that means he'll start the match. When I visited with Alec, when he won the Division III title at the KCO March Points Tournament, he admitted to me that he'd been watching Prodigy Bowlers Tour all the way back to our days in Georgia. And if he's intimidated by bowling with a higher average player in a higher division, he's not showing it. He plants that one in the pocket. Watch his game again. Strong two-hander. Built like a linebacker. And he tackles those pins like they're tackling dummies. Alec is getting 15 pins in handicap. Once again, the handicap players get 75% of the difference between their average and 200. PJ picks up where he left off. Big time strike to start. Get another look at him. He's coming right at you here. In the pit. Different kind of view of these players. You get a whole different perspective from the front. But the strikes look pretty much the same. 3 balls, 3 strikes. The thing I like about his game is his head is so steady through the release. Two-handers have more difficulty with that. Ooh, a little high with that one, nearly disastrous. But he breaks down the split and has just the 4-pin. Alec with a high 3-game series of 674. Well, that was true in March when he filled out the questionnaire. I don't know if that's still true. Now, here's a fun fact. Alec told me that he had practiced the whole week leading up to this on a sport pattern, flat oil. So this house shot is going to seem really easy to him. A house shot has a buildup of oil in the center of the lane. It's drier, much less oil on the outsides of the lane, outside the second arrow on either side of the lane. It'll help guide the ball to the pocket for a player that knows what he's doing. And these two players know what they're doing, for sure. When Alec won his title to get into the Prodigy Tournament of Champions, he was in Division III. He's since got rated up to Division II, and I imagine he will stay there for a while until he moves up to Division I. PJ with another awesome strike. I love how he gets that action to get the 6 to kick out the 10. Nothing but strikes for PJ so far as you watch his brother in the background in the orange shirt looking on. Standing next to him is Alan Derkings, who was PJ's doubles partner at the December Youth Adult Doubles Tournament. He works in the pro shop here at Olathe Lanes East and has helped PJ with his game.
Well, he pulled that ball about 3 or 4 boards left of target, so it never got out to the dry on the right side of the lane. Stayed in the oil and just hydroplaned all the way down. Never got into any kind of a roll on the back end. Deflected big time when it hit the pocket. And you see the result. Not a marshmallow 5, but kind of a wall shot 5. A little unlucky that he didn't get a strike. But he misses the 5 pin. And I would never expect him to do that. And you see Anthony in the background still holding his hand up. Alan got a kick out of that. But I'll tell you what, better take it seriously here because PJ just handed the lead to Alec. Oh, but Alec, working on a strike, is unable to take advantage, and he leaves the big 4. The 4, 6, 7, 10. Where is Antonio Miranda when you need him? Alec will just go for 2. Take the count. Nothing fancy. Just don't give any pins away. That's smart bowling. I know it's not satisfying to a bowler to intentionally take an open rather than go all out to try to make a split, but sometimes it's just the smarter play. You try to graze a pin so thinly, you're going to run by and miss it more often than you make it. All of a sudden, Alec's ball is overreacting. He's going to need to move farther left. He leaves the 3-10 baby split. Now, you recall in his handicap championship match against Lauren Leonardi, he made this. He needs to make it again right here. Well, back-to-back opens for Alec Rutschman. That's not what he needs. So PJ coming off an open of his own. A rather unexpected one, I might add, missing the 5 pin. He will move over to the right lane and try to right the ship. Well, that one was well to the right. He didn't pull that for sure. But he kind of overcorrected, threw it way to the right. It never quite got back. That could have been worse, leaving just a 10 pin on such a wild shot. A little fortunate, but simple spare. And he takes care of it. "17 pins separating these two halfway through the match. The winner of this match claims the coveted trophy pin, the prize they've been eyeing all year. Every champion who wins on Prodigy Bowlers Tour signs their name to the coveted trophy pin, and at the end of this game, we will award it to the winner of the match." There's a light shaker. That's where PJ needs to stay, is right there in that light pocket. He's got plenty of ball to carry out strikes there. Yep. Wall shot, 4-5-7 goes out at the end. All right, Alec, it's time to get busy. Oh, yikes. If this were baseball, we'd score that as a wild pitch. But at least it didn't go high again like the last 2 he's thrown. But I'll tell you what, the 1-3-9 is a deceiving little spare. You put the ball on the 1 and the 3, but you've got to favor the 3 pin. If you put it a little higher in the pocket, you'll leave the 9. Like that. And that's 3 opens in a row. And suddenly the dream of claiming the coveted trophy pin is starting to fade for Alec Rutschman. Watch this. It's just too high on the head pin. And it's going to send the 3 to the right of the 9. The ball hooks on through and leaves the back pin. There you go, Alec. That's what you need. You need a few more of those, but that's how you get a string started. You can't get 2 or 3 in a row if you don't get the first one. Stayed down with that one. He's gone to urethane. I'm not sure if I noticed that earlier, but... All right, PJ. Now is the time to put the pedal to the metal. And that's exactly what he does. When your opponent is struggling, show no mercy. I don't think I have ever seen PJ out of balance at the foul line. Three in a row, maybe? How about it? Nope. Doesn't get the wall action he needed. So the string stops at 2. And that'll give Alec a chance to claw back into this. Simple spare. He looked down at the floor like maybe he didn't like his footing there at the foul line, but covers the spare. All right, here's the situation. Alec Rutschman, with strikes in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, can shoot 219. PJ Douglas is going at a 216 pace. That's what Alec needed. And now he needs 3 more of those. He can do it. We saw his determination in the championship match in the Handicap Division when he made those back-to-back splits. Having that kid scream right in the middle of his downswing was not helpful. I know these kids are just having fun several pairs away down to the right, but holy mackerel, that was an ill-timed noise. I don't know if it affected Alec, but he really could have used a strike there in the 9th. Covers the spare. But that does change the dynamics of the match. Now the best Alec can do is 198. PJ's going to need 1 mark in the last 2 frames. And this will be his day as the champion of the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. 1 mark in 2 frames will do it. Oh, man. Put it right through the nose. But breaks up the split, leaves just the 6-10. The whole season's worth of bowling comes down to this. And he covers the spare. All right, that gives him 184 in the 9th if he doesn't throw another ball. Again, Alec can get to 198. PJ can win the coveted trophy pin with 8 pins on this ball. There it is. And P.J. Douglas has won the 2023 Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. He captures the coveted trophy pin in the 10th frame of the Final Showdown against Alec Rutschman, who won the Handicap Division coming out of Division 3 at the KCO. PJ with a conversion of the 10 pin, and he should finish with 213 if he fills it up here on the last shot. Alec gave him something to think about. Alec certainly has shown improvement since the last time we saw him in March on Prodigy. All right, 8 to finish. That'll give PJ 211. But I'll tell you what, Alec Rutschman showed me something today. Those back-to-back splits that he made in his championship match in the Handicap Division, that showed some real guts and precision. And he bowled pretty well in his opportunity to claim the coveted trophy pin against P.J. Douglas. He was just a little overmatched and didn't bowl his best game. I know these interdivision matches are handicapped for the lower average player, but they still got to bowl a little over their head to beat these players who are higher average players, and that's as it should be. All of these players you saw today are champions, but the two that stand above the rest are Alec Rutschman and P.J. Douglas, the winner of the coveted trophy pin. We will hand out the hardware to our winners right after this.
First off, the winner in the Handicap Division, and he bowled great all day. He led wire to wire from the first game all the way to the last game. Alec Rutschman, congratulations. He wins the Hunter Moffitt Award. Way to go. Thank you. And then we've got another couple of awards here. Our first ever winner of the Charles Bostic Award. Charlie is one of the top collegiate bowlers in the country. He won the first coveted trophy pin. P.J. Douglas, your champion in the scratch division. And there's another little matter of business to tend to. He wins the first Kansas City coveted trophy pin. P.J. Douglas, way to go. How'd you do it?
Hard work, just staying focused, getting spares, keeping it clean.
Way to go.
Thank you.
You're a worthy champion.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. That's it.
Now, that may not be quite it. We have a developing story.
You're going to do what?
Give this to Alec.
You're going to give it to Alec?
Yeah.
All right, well, how about that? PJ, you're the man. Alec, you bowled great all day and you got a little more than you bargained for.
Yeah, got more than I thought I would.
All right. PJ,
Thank you.
I say to these kids every year, if I teach them nothing else, I will teach them good sportsmanship. You're the man.
So that puts a wrap on Season 7 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. As always, I want to thank everyone who makes these shows possible, starting with our amazing Prodigy patrons. If you want to support the creative work that goes into producing Prodigy Bowlers Tour, become a Prodigy patron. For just $5 a month, you get early access to all our full-length episodes, and for just $10 a month, you get that, plus you get your name in the show's closing credits as an executive producer. To keep up with all things Prodigy, yes, even during the off-season, join our Facebook group. From any page on Facebook, type Prodigy Bowlers Tour into the search bar and hit enter. That'll take you to a page where you can submit a request to join the group. But I say this every time, and some of you aren't listening. When you are presented with the option to join the group, you'll also be presented with a series of 3 simple questions. You must answer them, or your request to join the group is liable to be declined. Because if you don't answer them, we'll just assume you're a spam bot, and nobody wants to let spam bots into the group. We'll be back later in July with reports on how the Prodigy kids are doing at Junior Gold in Indianapolis. So smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you get an alert when a new video goes up. Otherwise, we're off for the rest of the summer. But here's some good news. We'll be back in the fall for Season 8 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, as we once again cover the Kansas City Open and gather another season's worth of signatures on a new coveted trophy pin that we'll award to someone next year at the 2024 Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. Special thanks to Adam Crouch of Topeka, Kansas, for providing invaluable assistance all season long and for becoming one of my best friends. Also, big thanks go out to Eric Maxwell, the general manager of Olathe Lanes East, for making the bowling center available to us today for the Prodigy TOC. Eric was Johnny on the spot, putting out little fires whenever they broke out, often even before I noticed them. Thank you, Eric. Thanks to Lee Miller, the chairman of the Kansas City Open, for his support of Prodigy with the KCO board and for his assistance throughout the season. I want to thank all the board members of the KCO. If they didn't buy into what I do with Prodigy Bowlers Tour, these shows would never happen. If you want to bowl on Prodigy Bowlers Tour here in the greater Kansas City area, the way to do it is to qualify for the stepladder finals at the Kansas City Open, where we're covering your division. To find everything you need to know to enter the Kansas City Open next season, visit their website at www.kansascityopen.com. I want to thank the parents of the kids who bowl in the KCO and on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. At the beginning of this season, I'm sure some of them were wondering, who is this fat old guy and why has he asked me to sign a piece of paper giving him permission to put my kids on the internet? Well, now that you've seen a season's worth of shows, I hope you approve. And I also want to thank you for supporting your kids and the sport of bowling. Thanks to all the individuals who provided assistance throughout the season, schlepping our camera gear into and out of the bowling centers and unloading it all from my car and loading it back in. This is the most thankless of all tasks that have to be done to get these shows out, and I couldn't do it by myself. So many thanks to people like Brent Whitesell, Matt Worrell, Mike Anderson II, Nick Robbins, Jacob Smith, Lauren Leonardi, Coach Jim Anderson, and others too numerous to mention. I appreciate you more than you can imagine. Oh, and there is one other group of people I want to thank, and that's those of you in Prodigy land, the Prodigy viewers. When this show launched in 2016, I never dreamed it would find a national audience, let alone loyal fans scattered across the country and around the world. Some of you hung with us through the lean times of the pandemic, and some of you came back home again when we resumed production, first with the Farewell Atlanta episode in November of 2021, and then our first Kansas City telecast in June of 2022. I can't thank you enough for watching, commenting, sharing, and telling everyone you know about Prodigy Bowlers Tour. You're the ones who keep me going through those late nights, editing and getting these shows out when it seems like an impossible task. And the kindness and compassion many of you expressed to me in the wake of my head-on car collision in January is something I'll never forget. So thank you, Prodigy Nation, for being there. I love you. So that's it for the 2022-23 season of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Be on the lookout for those Junior Gold updates in July and catch up on all the shows you missed throughout the season while we're off this summer. They'll be there for you to watch. And tell your friends about Prodigy. We picked up a few subscribers this season, but I want to see that number tick up a lot faster next year. So, from Olathe Lanes East in Olathe, Kansas, this is Coach Randy congratulating Alec Rutschman of Topeka, Kansas, the winner of the Hunter Moffitt Award for capturing the Prodigy TOC title in the Handicap Division of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And congratulations to PJ Douglas, winner of the Charles Bostic Award for capturing the title in the Scratch Division, and then for winning the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions and the Coveted Trophy Pin. I wish you the very best, both on the lanes and off. Stay cool over the summer, and we'll see you back here again in September on Season 8 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, go get your bowl on.